everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stassi. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to talk about Not So Berry. I feel like everybody, they're a simmer who loves gameplay, tries to do this gameplay at least once, and I thought it'd be really fun to have a podcast talking about it, because someone who doesn't usually play the gameplay aspect of it, the Not So Berry challenge, I've only heard about it and I've seen people do it, but I never really got to do the knit and grid of it. So I thought it would be really fun to host a Not So Berry. So before we do introductions, I want to do a quick little intro. So the Sims Not So Berry challenge has been around for about 6 years now. We've seen so many popular simmers start out with this challenge, and it's a ton of fun, but what is it all about? The Sims 4 Not So Berry challenge is a challenge that focuses on generations and colors. The idea is to play 10 generations of Sims that each generation focuses on a color. You can use money and real estate cheats, but you have to complete the Sims aspirations and level up their goals. The Not So Berry challenge is also making fun of berry sims. If you have no idea what berry sims are, it's totally okay. I didn't know what berry sims were until Friday. It's essentially the sims are bright. So they'll have bright skin, hair, eyes, and clothes. So for an example, we're talking about a pink sim with light green hair and let's say a super light blue dress. The creator of this challenge was Little Simsy. And the whole point of this is she wanted us to be able to have fun with bright color items and clothing and hair that we might not otherwise use. And the idea of it was to have this beautiful concept of just be doing aspects of the game that we never actually use. So I thought it would be fun to bring on 3 simmers who have currently doing Not So Berry. So I'm so excited to have Sassmouth, Mimi, and Sarah here. So thank you guys so much for coming here today.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Oh my gosh, so the pleasure's mine. So we're going to do a quick round of introductions, and then we're going to kind of get into every generation. So Sassmouth, we're going to start with you, and welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I am Sassmouthsimmer. Y'all can find me over on Instagram at Sassmouthsimmer. I also have 2 other handles, which is Sassberry Origin, and also I have a spam account. My name, sassmouthsimmer.spam. Y'all can find me on there, also on Twitter. I hunt there, but not as much because it's just crazy. And I am in the midst of the Not So Berry challenge. I actually do mine with a twist, so it's a sci-fi version, and mine is based on storytelling, so I move a little bit slower, and I'll talk about that later in regards to like the challenge rules. But yeah, that's a little bit about me, and so I'll pass it along.
I love that. I'm excited to catch up and just, kind of see where your story's at. Mimi, talk to me about, also welcome. First,
well, hello.
Hello.
I'm a nervous chatter, so if I'm like talking really fast, Sass knows. She knows.
I know.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your Not So Berry challenge?
Sure. Maliki Star, but you can call me Mimi. It's a lot easier. I can be found on Instagram as well. I have at Maliki Star Sim Stories and at Maliki Star Sim Craze. I actually have completed 1 round of Not So Berry. I've gone through 11 generations and I mixed it. I combined the original Not So Berry with like the Not So Berry 2.0. And I will get into that a little bit later too, because I feel like for gameplay purposes, that's a good thing. I'm actually right now currently just starting Rose Gen in the Not So Berry again on my Sim Craze account. I didn't mean for it to get on there, but I love Not So Berry so much that when Sass and I were talking and I downloaded all this great Max's Match hair and I put it on in those vibrant colors, I was like, oh yeah, I got to do this again. I got to do it again. So, because I do a lot. I love gameplay. That's my favorite part. I'm more into the photography aspect of it, which makes Not So Berry really fun. And like the building aspect. I mean, if anybody's seen what I have on there, it's kind of a combo of everything because it's about as chaotic as my brain. So
Mimi, I love that. I do have a question, and you kind of brought up with CC hair. Do you, like, is it better if you have CC if you're
I
doing a
don't
not so berry, or can you like will
I
EA whatever they
feel
give us
that
is
what they have
satisfied?
on EA, especially if you don't have every game pack, if you don't have everything that they still have a very good base on the colors. If you look
Okay.
at EA swatches
Yeah, they
and the
do.
hairs that they've been updating and they make look better, you can do it. Clothing wise, especially, there's always such a big variety in what you're getting in the game packs from EA.
Okay.
I think because especially with console players who can't do the CC, it's hard because that might deter people because you see
Yep.
everybody's Simstagrams and you see these YouTubers and Twitch and they're like, oh, their characters look so amazing, and then they get into theirs and like it's not as exciting. It's
Mhm.
going to have to be as exciting as you make it with what you have to work with.
Okay.
And I think that makes it more of a challenge. I think
Yep.
CC and mods kind of amp up the fun and give you more of a spectrum if you're doing stories, or
Yeah,
if
Okay.
but
you're
totally not
really into
necessary.
if you're really
It's
into like the photography. But for gameplay, it's not necessary at all. You can have just as much fun without it.
okay. Thank you. I was just always curious because I don't look at anything EA gives us and is like, wow, this is amazing after having like so many amazing CC
Yeah,
hairs.
it is. It's hard. It is hard because Maxis Match hairs, they look nicer than the EA hair. I mean, they're so detailed and they're so vibrant, and then like you put but it's doable and it looks great, and it's really, I think, your preference when it
Okay.
comes to that. Like what's going to hold your attention.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Mimi, thank you. Sarah, how about you?
Hello, I'm Sarah Whims. You can find me on Instagram and YouTube and Tumblr, but I don't really post on there because I don't like it anymore.
I got
Um,
you. And you messaged me that you had just started doing the Not So Berry. What generation are you on?
I did just start the Not So Berry. The Rose Gen is on the way. And I started just now. I always wanted to do it because I got get to work gift for Christmas,
Mhm.
and I love that. That's it, really.
Okay, no, that's awesome. For me being a noob, what generation is Rose?
Rose generation is the generation where the politician career is involved, and rose pink plus red plus whatever you want, and the drama aspect in romantic relationships.
I love that. I'm very excited to learn more about Generation 2, but we got to start with the mint. And Mimi, we talked about this. Because like everybody does it not so fair. I see so many mints, like we talked about, but I don't ever see what a second or third, fourth, or fifth generation is. That's why I was like, which one's Rose?
I think because the mint generation, especially if you're not in for gameplay, if you're not really a gameplay and you're just playing your standard, it's easy to fall back. But the mint generation can be daunting because of the science career and the element chart. Because like the element for a lot of people, that's a hard one to do. And so I think because it's such a grind, if you don't like the grind of the gameplay, it's going to be hard for you to get past it unless you know all like the little cheats and tricks that you can do to make it easier on yourself.
Okay.
So
I totally got you, because I learned what this was, the full what you had to do on Friday. And I was like, holy shit. Okay, so anyone who's like me, who does not 100% know what generation is. So generation 1 is mint. You're a mischievous scientist that really loves the color mint. You're career driven, but still make time for silly pranks and outgoings with your closest friends. You love luxury and you want the best for yourself and your family. Traits: vegetarian, jealous. Oh God, what's
Materialistic.
yeah, materialistic.
Thank you. Thank you. Aspirations: chief of mischief, career scientist. Rules: master the science career and complete the chief of mischief aspiration. Master mischief and logic skills. Complete element collection.
Yes.
So what is the element collection?
Oh God.
Well, it's the easy, it's just, and I say this and I'm going to sound so ridiculous because you think I know this. I went to school, but like your element chart, well, in the Sims, they've got like their gems and their stones.
Yeah.
And when you dig, you get them.
Okay.
And they have them everywhere. Like my tip is, when you're in the scientist career, if you have the get to work, you can go to work with your scientist.
Okay.
Which makes it really fun, I think, because you don't get to interact with a lot of those. But outside of the lab, there's always a whole bunch of those like dig areas. So like how I did it, because the first time I did the mint gen, I was so confused. I was like, how do you get these things? I just can't get enough. So what I did is I took the first like 2 hours of my Sims workday and I'd go dig up everything. And then by the end of the workday, I'd go back to their house and then I'd go to the mailbox and I'd send everything to the Geo Council. So then the next day I'd be back, and you just do that until you fill that thing. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say the other like tip for getting your elements, I was gonna say, is I also would continuously ask the coworkers.
Yes.
Yeah,
for
I do
minerals.
that. I do that.
Yeah, which
Yes.
that like saved so much time from digging.
Yeah.
So I could complete my other things, because when you go to work, there's tasks, your daily tasks.
Yeah.
For anyone who's never game played, and your workday will run out before you know it when you're still out there digging. So I always found that asking your coworkers for gems and crystals
plus
and metals is great.
that actually that's a dual one. You're right on that, because you have to do that on your task lists when you're going to work. So you're like, fantastic. I get them for 2 things. You're like doing the multitasking.
That's what I wanted to say.
Yes.
Okay. So now we know what the elements are.
I found a glitch in the scientist career when you go to the lab and the dig up thingies don't show up for me personally. So I just ask my coworkers.
That's fantastic.
Instead of digging everything.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, if that works. Again, I've never played the science career. So that's like new. I legitimately thought it was like our elements, like they had like an element table.
They do. Well, actually, the little stand that you get for it does look like our element chart, and you just slide the little elements in there. But it's great because as a scientist, you need to be focused a lot. So once you fill it, you can like click on it and view it, and it amps your focus, which is great.
Yeah, you can enable those moodlet, the little moodlet thing tab on there. It's perfect. Okay, so that's the element part. So like, how do you become mischief? And like so I know it's just an aspiration that you pick, but so I hated that part.
So like
really, I get a big kick out of that part.
So like I avoid mischief when any aspiration I ever put. Yeah, I never play with mischief.
It's not that, because it's not like the mean. With mean, it is, but like mischief is it's a lot of funny things. Like, I mean, I get a kick out of a lot of it, but like it's just like, when you amping up your mischief, when you get to a certain, I think it's level 5. I don't know let me know, Sass, if I'm wrong, but I think level 5 is when you can start trolling the forums. So then you don't have to be face to face.
I think level 3.
Is it level 3? Okay.
It was level 3. Okay.
So you can start trolling the forums. That way you don't feel so weird when you're being mischievous, like face to face with the Sims. This way you can just troll the forums and build your skill. But I'll be honest, I started a not so berry in between my original and this one, and my mint gen hated mischief. She disliked it immediately. So I had to have her read the mischief books because she wouldn't do mischief with anybody.
Yeah. So
I always read the mischief books, and I this sounds weird, but the first level of the Chief of Mischief, it says be disliked by 2 Sims, and I immediately thought of children because those don't affect the game ever.
I love that.
So I picked out 2 kids from the street and constantly being mean to them.
Great.
Oh my gosh, that's definitely.
I have to remember that. I'm gonna have to remember that trick.
That's so funny. I would have never, ever thought of that, to be honest with you. I would have just picked 2 random townies. Is that what most people do? Is just pick 2 random townies and just like.
Well, I went after the Callian.
Yeah, right. Sometimes you pick, I think, a main
Dawn.
character family that you're like, yeah, Dawn. Dawn's an easy one to go
Like,
after.
yeah.
Okay.
Bitch, I went after
we
Dawn.
hate him. We
Yes,
hate
right.
So question, can you like, is this also world based as well? Or can you start the gen, like, or do you, like, for like this any generation, can
With
you pick any
Mint-Gen,
world?
you can start
Any
wherever
world.
you want to start.
Yeah,
There's
you can.
really
Yeah.
no requirement in the Not So Berry that says you have to live anywhere in particular.
Okay.
Like I have an alphabet legacy that I do where certain ones you have to live certain places, but this one you don't. As long as you, like, I know with like Plum Gen, you have to live in like 3 different places outside of where you were born.
Mhm.
But they don't specify that you have to live in certain areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
With my original series, I started my Mint Gen in Willow Creek because that was like the OG sim place.
Yeah.
So I thought, why not start there? This version, I started her. She's moved 3 times because of the story in my head, that really didn't make it to my account, but that story in my head was great, and she had a great thing going. But now they're in Sulani. But with Rose Gen coming up, she's going to be in Tartosa. So I want to, like, I think it's fun to mix it up. So if you don't have all the packs and you only have so many worlds to work with,
Yeah, you
have
just
fun
work with
with
that.
it. Have fun with
Yeah.
it. Build some lots in those areas that,
Yeah.
fit, because I feel like Not So Berry is not just great for gameplay, but it's also good for your builds.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
actually I started out my Not So Berry on console. So I'm shouting out to all my console peeps and anybody who's just doing just straight vanilla gameplay, like it's achievable because you can still work with what you have with your EA base packs and just pick and choose wherever you wanna live, and it's totally doable because I did mine all the way up to Gen 3, which I'm still on, but Storyteller, again, a whole different thing. But but um it's totally doable. So yeah.
Okay.
Not many people know this about me, but I don't use build CC ever. I never use build CC.
That's amazing. That
Yeah.
is amazing.
That is awesome.
I
have to fix my lighting situation really quick. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Quick break. I used to say the same. I used to say no build CC. I changed throughout making Rose Chronicles just because, like, for an example, I needed a treasure chest with gold. The Sims doesn't have that. So there are certain aspects of stuff or like half open doors.
Yeah.
Or just like
Yeah.
little kind of things. But I get it. A lot of builders actually don't use CC because they want everyone to be able to enjoy their builds. I think if it's whatever you want to do, it's up to the individual creator. I just think we should stop shunning builders that do use CC because it's their art. Whatever they decided to have
It's
to create
their
art.
choice.
It's
Yeah.
their choice.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Mimi's back. Okay, so talk to me. How do we press start? How do we press play when it comes to the first generation? Like, what's the first things you got to do?
I think, well, I don't know about you, Sass, and you, Sarah. For me, I think the first I take more time in cast than
Yes.
in most
Yes.
places. Like, so I think, especially if you're really into it, your first step is to really create that Mint generation character, because that's your matriarch. And you got to look at this like you're doing these 10 generations. You can't just look at it like, oh, I'm just going to do 1 generation at a time. You got to have that stuff playing in your head, whether or not you're doing a story or you have Simstagram, whatever you're doing. I mean, for me, I feel like The Sims is like it's the only place in the world that you can create the people in, like create and control the people in it. And I say this as a mom. I got 3 kids that I created. I can't control them like I can control my Sims.
Yes.
So, like, I think the important thing for me was creating that perfect character and deciding, do you want to go all into the sense where, is she going to have the mint hair? Is she going to have a certain color eye? Can you do the things you want to do with what you have to work with? If you only have the base games, or if you have CC, get that character together. Then decide where you want to live, or decide if you want to try other things outside of the aspiration and challenges that you're given. Because some people like to mix it up with that mint gen. you know, when it comes to being a scientist. But I think once you get a house, I mean, I don't do a lot of cheats when it comes to money in the beginning of a legacy challenge, but I think that is player preference. If you like to do the rags to riches where you're starting off really low, start that way. It does make the challenge fun. It does. But just immerse yourself. Try all the stuff that they're asking you to do. Get really into the mischief, because one of the fun things about that aspiration, even going in, and I looked forward to it from the beginning, was you have to have a voodoo doll. And you have to link it to a sim. Now you can do this in a good way or a bad way. So like there's things to look forward to when you go in. So like I think that that's the first thing you want to do. Decide where you want to live. Decide what you want your character to look like. You know, what's the base for your character? Are they going to be like super mischievous with everybody? Are they going to be a mean mischievous? I mean, they are materialistic. They could be mean. You know what I mean? As I said, mean way too many times.
No, but I like that. So like try to have fun with it and try and even if you don't like want to be mischief, like there's other ways to do that.
Because some people get overwhelmed by that scientist career and like the element charts, but there are really fun things that scientist career. Like even though I just went into Rose Gen, I still have one more thing I'm doing with my Mint Gen, and I've got her to the point where the cloning machine is prepped to clone the sim. So she's going to be cloning herself. And I'm like, oh, I've never done that. So like I kind of added that in there with that. And I was like, yes.
It's so much fun. See, I'm a little bit more on the chaotic side. Where you like spent a lot of time in cast, like I didn't really focus. Well, also because at the time I'm on console, so you can only do so much. But even still, like I didn't spend very much time in cast. But I like went straight into the scientist grind, and for me, that that usually deters a lot of people. Like they burn themselves out, and then they usually quit within the scientist script because it's such a grind. But I know for me personally, it was so much fun because it's so chaotic and crazy, and there's so much unseen drama there because when they go to work, anything could happen. They could catch on fire, something could blow up. You know, you get to clone people, get to troll your coworkers. It's just so that's the part I love so much about Mention. It was just so much fun, is just the chaos of the everyday workday. Even though it was a grind and you had things to check off. And then for me, the big is the alien abduction. So that to me is the best thing ever. I loved it. And that's like one of my favorite parts about the Mention, but that's a whole nother nerd level. So I'm gonna sit back down on that.
So I think on the Mention, when you first start, I actually create the characters that I want to be in my story and decide the storyline that I'm going for. Because, for example, my Minjen has alien grandparents or whatever, and she has the elf years, and that's why she goes into the scientist career to realize what happened with her past, and she marries an alien.
That's so awesome.
Love that.
I love that. That's so cool.
Do too.
But I think that's what I like about because like everybody does it not so very, but they make it themselves, like make it their own challenge, and that's making it your own challenge, is coming up with a backstory. Why is this scientist loving mint and mischievous? And then you're able to play with that, and it kind of grasps you. Okay. Before we move on to the next generation, is there anything that we want to add?
I think that because Mint Gen is so, I feel like in every challenge, any challenge that's out there, especially Not So Berry, that first generation's like very hardcore, like all of their aspirations and everything, because you're grinding. Because after that, you're raising every generation from the time they're born. So you have a lot more time to work with, a lot of things to play with, more story you can bring in if you want to do story. So like with Mint, I feel like it's a combination of hardcore gameplay and good times. Now if your stories, like all of us are doing, like you do stories with it or mix it with gameplay and story, I think there's more into it. Like if you're using this Not So Berry as a way to get into doing stories and using it, because the one great thing, and I don't know if Sass and Sarah agree, but the great thing that I love about Not So Berry is that it's so regimented and ruled that you can use that as a guideline, right?
Yes.
So like
Yes.
Yes.
all right, we've got all these key points that these generations have to have. Now your brain starts going and you're like, okay, this is what I want to do with just this generation. Or, I don't really like this version of the Not So Berry, or I don't like what this mint gen's doing. So let me go look at the extended version or the 2.0 or whatever, because everybody had changed it to add more of the packs. So you weren't just working with specific packs. That is what I think is so great about it, because whether you're getting into it for the gameplay or a story, that mint gen, it like pushes you right in there.
Yeah, it's a great platform to get ideas going, and then also if you not only just want to do it for gameplay, but then if you decide to do it for storytelling, there's so much there, and you can go so many different avenues, and to me that's also what's great. But yeah, Gen 1 is a grind.
Yeah.
But I think it sets up, makes it easier a little bit for the other gens. I don't know. That's
Okay.
I feel like even though Mingen is played by everyone that has the packs required for it, I still feel like it's underrated. I don't know why.
I agree with you, Sarah, on that.
Yeah.
Because everybody's always in such a push to get through it, and they don't appreciate the things in the like the scientist career. Like I'll be the first to admit, the first time that I did Not So Berry, I was like, it's just a grind. So I had her go to university so I could just skip to level 8 of the scientist career, not thinking that I was gonna miss all this stuff. So when I did this round, I was like, I'm gonna play it through, because I thought, I watch people do the mint gen, so I don't have to do it that way. I'll just do it this way. And you find, and I agree, Sarah, it is very underrated because there are so many cool things you can do. I mean, that sim ray gun, the things that you can upgrade that thing to do, holy moly. I mean, like, and if you think that sim kids can be irritating, that sim ray gun is like the best thing. You're like, clean, boom, and you shoot your kid with the sim ray and they're cleaning your whole freaking house. It's like fantastic. Being able to clone things, I was cloning snowboards to make money, because no one says you can't do that in your thing. So you just put that snowboard on the cloning machine, hit clone, and then you're selling those things for like 220 simoleons.
Yeah, speaking of which, another great tip about all those inventions, as soon as you get your next gen, pass that junk down.
Yes. I already passed like the cloning machine and everything to Rose Gen. I was like, she can use these in my story.
Maisie, my Gen 3 Maisie, she has all Amenta stuff. Like, I passed that stuff down, so you can just keep it going and you keep using that to make money, to just do, just put out fires, freeze people that annoy you. Like,
another thing that I had done, which I didn't do with this one yet, but with my original one, I actually had the Not So Berry like memorial, and it was in Sulani, and like the first level was just Serenay, and of course Kiyoshi was the father of my Rose Gen in my first, because who doesn't love Kiyoshi? And it had like important things for each of them and pictures of them, and then like when you went downstairs, it had an area for each one of the generations with their spouse or significant other, and like pictures of their kids, and like poignant things that they got in their careers and aspirations for the challenge. Unfortunately, I lost that when my save got corrupted, but it would be cool to have everything. So what I would do is when a generation would die, I would take the stuff out of the house and then go put it in the memorial.
I have a mausoleum, my Berry mausoleum. It's still on my in my console save file, but I have the same thing. I have a mausoleum, and I've got all their generation pictures and all their items that they had, and it's just bittersweet when you take your next generation and have them go visit. It's just, I don't know, I get emotional about that, but it's just really beautiful. And I think if you just take the time out when you're doing this to create like a memorial place to honor your matriarch and your past generations, it just makes the challenge gameplay and just the whole experience so much more just extra. I don't know. That's just
Because you get
I
so
want to
immersed. Yeah, go ahead, Sarah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I want to add something.
Yeah.
The scientist career can be so overwhelming when you first
Yes.
started
Mhm.
because you don't know what anything is. So like it says analyze on that
Yeah.
machine, whatever, and you don't know what machine that is, and you click on every single thing to find analyze.
Sarah,
Yes.
when you were in the lab, I know I did this. I would hit pause so many times, and I'd start going through the lab trying to figure out, like, okay, let's click on this. Let's click on that. Where
Yes.
is everything? I don't know where to go.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for explaining Gen 1. Because to this, I had like no idea that it would. I just thought like, yeah, the scientist crew, you're good to go, and just zap some people and be mischief. But there is more.
Yes,
There's
there is a lot more.
There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you though, the voodoo doll, I have done both times I've done the voodoo doll. The first series I did, I attached it to Kiyoshi and did like the love me side. But because like my mint gen in this Not So Berry, she had like a love triangle with her bosses who were twins, and they were just, one was really self-absorbed, and you gotta love the sim gods for giving you like great things to
Yes.
work with. So I had her link the voodoo doll to the self-absorbed brother when he was at work. So when she was at work, she would do like all the mean mischievous things to him. And it was great because she'd be so happy and she'd be doing her laugh, and then like he's like miserable.
Yeah, those interactions with Voodoo Doll are like hilarious.
But I feel like the easiest way to get a voodoo doll is by going to the festival, the humor and
Yes.
teaching
Yes.
festival.
Yes, that's a good advice.
Mm-hmm. See, these are very good tips for anybody who's
Yeah.
wanting to start. That like this is like the best ways of tips and tricks.
Also, the
Take notes.
element, I don't mean to interrupt, but the element chart itself, you just have to go into the build mode and you have to just type in element and then click on it, because then it'll
Yeah.
come up. And you can pull it. I don't know any other way to, if Sass or Sarah know a different way to get it, I only know to search build by for it.
I did it like that, or I searched rack, but then
Oh,
it didn't
okay.
show up. So then element.
Okay.
I just
There
clicked
was it.
on I just clicked on the get to work like only.
Oh,
And
no, I didn't even think to do that. See?
there's all the different ways.
But
love-
the humor and hitching festival, or whatever that is pronounced, is a very good way to get your mischief skill up by joining the purple team.
Yes, I
Yes.
agree. Hijinks is best.
Or comedy. I don't know.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
Peach Gen, but we're gonna get to that.
Yeah.
Oh, Peach Gen
Yes.
was fun, but I mixed that one up too. So I'm hard pressed on that.
Well, I think we got everything we need out of Gen 1. Gen 2, Rose.
Mm, I love
Sorry.
Rose.
Sorry for any. I'm gonna read this, and everyone knows I'm dyslexic, so please pray for me.
Yeah.
Okay. You had everything you desired as a child, but you were always longing for more. As an adult, you have a hard time committing to relationships as you are so focused on your career. If we had a workaholic trait in The Sims 4, then you would have it. You have absolutely no parental interaction whatsoever, but you still love children with all your heart. Traits: hothead, snob, romantic, aspirations, serial romantic, career, politician. Rules: have only one child, master the politician career, and complete the serial romance aspiration. Master charisma skill, leave someone at the altar. Get married for the first time as an elder. Are you fucking
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
sorry? I gotta.
Wild.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I'm seeing wild. Love it.
It's great.
I'm gonna be right back. I need something to drink.
Yeah.
No problem,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
problem.
No, take your time. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah,
It
this is the
is.
one I look for.
Yeah, Rose Gen is definitely like, if you are not into like drama in your gameplay or don't know how to get it, it definitely gives you like a foothold in it for sure.
Yeah.
I myself like to try to get the majority of the aspiration done when they're a teen, because I feel like
Yes.
when you're a teen, that's when you're really stupid, right? You don't
Yeah.
care. You're like, I'm just gonna. But I think is it maybe like level 3? You have to be an adult. I don't know. Do you have to be an adult? I can't remember. I'm like, now I'm gonna have to look up aspirations.
I don't remember.
But like, I don't know. There's something about that Rose Gen. I had a really hard time like with the altar aspect of
Back.
like the hello,
Hi.
the leaving at the altar, like that.
Yeah.
See, what I like though is that there's certain things like in that description for Rose Gen when it's like if there was a workaholic trait. Well, we all know that now you can have the workaholic lifestyle. So that actually really helps out with Rose Gen because you have to grind pretty hard with the politician career. The nice thing about the politician career is that you can do it from home or you can send them off to work. I myself found that unless I really needed to push her over, I would always have her work from home because I had her in, and I think this might be something that a lot of people do, but I had her in San Machino because I thought that that would be like the best place for her to be. So she would go out and she'd grind all the time and she'd be doing her stuff. And by the time you get to like level 4 or level 5, I found that that workaholic trait starts kicking in. And what's great about it is when they have that trait, they start to get really anxious and tense when they're not working and they autonomously go to work. So it fits. Yeah, it fits perfect. Like they can be having a family dinner. All of a sudden your sim gets tense from not working and they walk right out the door and you're like, where are they going? They're gone. They're at work. That's what but I like the drama. I mean, I like that drama that you can have. I mean,
Okay, so you could. Sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
The gameplay aspect about leaving someone at the altar is you can go about it in so many ways, and like you almost married for money or anything.
Right, there is that one. That's always great when that comes up. I love when The Sims just throws in what you need. Like you're playing a game or you're like, what am I going to do next? Or how do I want to make this? And then they're like, that call comes in and you're like, I know if I click this button, I'll get the money. But, but we're just going to say that this is reason why we're going to get married.
Exactly. Or just like a little sprinkle of chaos happens and you're like, well, no, I have to include that. And they have to get married to them.
Exactly.
So, question for being a serial romantic, like, is there in the aspect, like, do you have to have like 10 solid relationships? Is there a certain number of you have to have?
I believe at one point. Oh, go ahead.
I think at the first milestone or the second, I believe you have to get 8 or girlfriends or boyfriends. I'm not sure, but that's what I.
They don't have to be at the same time though. Like you do have to have like 1 or 2 after the first, and then there's like you have to have like a solid romantic relationship, I believe, with like 3 Sims or more at a time. Which, you know, here's the thing though too, there's like kissing too, like, oh, you have to like, I think one part of the aspiration is like kiss 10 different Sims, which I didn't know this the first time around, but a kiss on the freaking hand counts. I didn't know this, but you can.
Mistletoe kisses.
Yeah, mistletoe kisses. You don't have to do a first kiss with every Sim.
Okay.
We all know what happens with Sims now, especially with the high school pack. Like the minute you flirt with somebody, they have a crush on them. And then every time they're around, they get angry or they're tense.
So you can do those playful, sweet kisses, and it totally counts. Especially if you really struggle, because I know there's a lot of people that hate Gen 2 Rose Gen because they really struggle with that whole like cheating aspect or whatever, which can be triggering for some folks, and so they might really struggle with that. So that's kind of a way around it, or like a soft introduction into getting through that. That might be triggering for some people.
I actually done the serial romantic. I completed it only once. I didn't find it that hard. I speedrunned it, but I thought that was storyline, like picking every boy in the school and kissing them. Like
that's great. I like that. I like that a lot.
They can always see you. cheating, but it doesn't matter.
And you
Yeah,
know, the
that's
great
what makes it fun.
yeah, and the great thing is like no matter what kind of gameplay you like or what story you're going for, you can have fun with it. Like my first Rose Gen, she was, you know, she was fun and she was like hot-headed. But like this Not So Berry, my Rose Gen Rowan, she does have different traits, different red traits, because that's the whole thing with like the Not So Berry. If you look, for the most part, the traits that you're getting match the color in a way or
Yeah.
something to do with it. I did change hers a little bit because I don't have her as hot-headed and she's still a teen right now. And she's not going to go in the politician career. I heard that this Not So Berry is a little more 18 contented probably than my other one was. So, you know, she's got other plans that go with the serial romantic aspiration and, you know, with mods, which is great. I think if you can have mods, if you're playing on PC, some of the good ones to get, I don't know how Wonderful Whims works versus Wicked Whims, but like Wicked Whims has a trait called casual romantic. And when you put that trait on your sim, you don't have to worry about every time you do a romantic interaction with another sim, you don't build a romance. You can still have
Okay.
all the interactions. And like, you know, because there's that in between of things that make it a little bit easier with Rose Gen. Like for me, I find that if I had to play with, I sound horrible saying it, if I had to play without CC and mods, I think I'd have a really hard time myself. It would be an extreme challenge. It wouldn't be a challenge. It'd be an extreme challenge, because I find that like I have that realistic reactions mod. If I don't have that, my sims die all the time from being hysterical or
Oh
embarrassed
wow.
or like it's ridiculous. Like when I did Not So Berry the first time, my Gray Gen's husband, her poor husband probably died 4 times and I X'd out of my game. I didn't care where I was saved. I just X'd out of my game
Oh
as
my gosh.
good, or like begged for his life to come back. I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't do this. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to be able to X things out because
Mhm.
I don't just do it for gameplay. I'm, you know, doing it. So for me, if one of my Sims dies, that's not happening in my story, you know,
Mhm.
unless I
Yeah.
want it to happen in my story.
Right.
You know, or like in my
Mhm.
Peach Gen when her husband autonomously got struck by lightning when he was out working, which I didn't even know could happen.
That can happen.
I got
Yes.
noticed.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
like
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to tell you that her husband Gage had passed away, and I was like, "Wow, he was at work. He was a fisherman." And I look, and it said his death was by lightning.
Yeah. Now see, like on console, because I couldn't deal with that, like, because I think Minta got, I can't remember who got struck. One of my Sims, I don't think it was Minta, but another one, got struck by lightning. And I'm like, you know what? I can't deal with that. So I just turned that feature off, like the
The
thunderstorm
thunderstorms,
Mhm.
yeah.
off, just so
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to worry about that aspect. So that's a good tip there. And as far as like, I know you Mimi speaking about the whole serial romantic aspiration with using CC and mods. So on the flip side of that, if because you have that casual romantic option. Now on the flip side of that, if you're playing completely vanilla, you don't have that option. But if you want to completely avoid those, and I'm just speaking on terms of like for anybody that's not maybe into the drama of the Rose Gen and the serial aspiration, because a lot of people struggle with it. I think on the flip side, especially if you're playing vanilla, is for your dates, for getting seen by say
Mhm.
your several
Mhm.
partners, to avoid those moodlets or those situations, is you can go out with your date, but bring your date back home
Yeah.
or have a romantic dinner at home, and you can avoid that. I mean, that's probably just common sense. I mean, as far as like vanilla gameplay, but you know, some
Well,
people
I
might
think
not
because
think about that.
when you play that part, when you're doing that the romance, the serial romantic, we all know that when you're doing gameplay, like all you have to do is like, you know, flirt at a sim one time and they get like
Yeah.
like what, a minuscule 5 points on the romance bar. But if
Mhm.
they
Yes.
see you flirting with somebody else, all of a sudden you're cheating and you got caught cheating, and then your sim's
Yes.
sad because, and you're like, but they were just flirting. They're not even
Yes.
dating anybody.
They spend
Yeah.
like the next what it feels like 3
Right?
sim months upset and sad, and you can't get them to do anything, and
And
you're
you're
like,
like, oh.
especially if you're
I
playing vanilla, it's like the
Mhm.
worst. So
I feel
yeah.
like we only talked about the aspiration so far, not about the career.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get to the career.
I can't. I don't know. I tried the career once. I rage quitted because I don't know how to start a protest without joining one, and I never caught one. There, I was so mad. I could not describe it.
I think, can you click, like when you click on a space, do you get the option to do a protest? I can't remember because it's been a while since I did my Rose Gen. I thought there was an option, like either you click on your own sim and you go to career, or it says, no, it doesn't say politician, and then you can do it. Sass, I don't remember.
I'm trying to remember too, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember if on the podium there was an option as well.
See, I don't
it's
ever
also been a
protest
while.
with the podium. I always made them go out to the middle of the street and protest.
Well, I would
Yeah.
normally go to the in San Machino in the in Uptown, next to the gym, that area with the podium where you get them to speak. I think in that area, if you click, and again, I was playing vanilla when I was in Rose, in Gen 2, so I think if you clicked on the ground, you might have that option near that podium area.
Mhm.
But I cannot. Oh, I can't
I'm
remember
looking
because
it
it's
up
been
right
a
now
while.
because I'm
Thank
trying to
you.
get a refresh. So I'm gonna look right now.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
It's been a hot minute.
I've never seen a protest. I've never really
Oh, it's so much
interacted
fun
with.
though.
Really?
So
Yeah,
you want
I
to
don't know.
make
I thought
because you have to
so.
pick a you definitely have to pick, like,
You have to pick a cause.
yeah, you have to pick your cause.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then let's see, why isn't it not telling
And
me?
it might be under causes. I just thought about that. So when you click your sim and you have that politician career and there's also the causes, it might be under where you click the cause and it might pop up. I'm trying to, gosh, I can't remember and I just feel like an idiot right now.
Yeah, you can choose the cause, but there, I think it's under career on the laptop, but I'm not sure.
That I don't know. Mimi.
I
You're
still
a
cannot.
hero.
I'm like, oh man, I can see the thing about the podium, which is right, because you can purchase the podium if you want it, and you can keep it in your inventory, and you can do speeches anywhere as long as you put it down on the ground. But I could have
What
swore that
pack
you
is
could.
it?
I believe it's in the city living pack.
Oh, okay.
But why is it not telling me? Oh, see, I don't like it when the guides don't give you. See, now it makes me want to. I can't go into my game while I'm doing this. I'm like, I'm going to my game and find it out.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. No, that's promoting a cause.
Okay, here it is.
Okay,
It says
okay. One place
once your
mentioned.
sim, yeah, once your sim has chosen a cause, so they have to choose a cause. You click on the sim, and then they can start a protest. And then once protesting, click on another sim and ask them to join under friendly. Then you can also make your sim quit their protest, and then you can also donate to a protesting sim. So that's according
I
to.
see how to promote it, but that's
Let's
not the.
see.
I don't think that's the
If that
protest.
is the case, you have three options: cancel the win or make your sim join or add a random sim to your household.
I love that we were talking about our experiences of Not So
I know,
Berry,
and now we're
they're
like, hold on a
Googling.
minute, wait a minute, wait a
Hold
minute.
on,
What
hold
is this?
But again, that's a really good point of people maybe that are stuck trying to figure out how to do a protest.
Okay, hold on. Here we go. Let's see. Wait, did I find it?
Okay,
No.
somebody else said that they always go to the gym to start the protest, and there's the area with the podium and the chairs, just like I think I was talking about, where you can click on that area and then you can say start a
But
protest.
you can't know, like, you can do a protest even without that, though.
Yeah,
I know
yeah, but
that,
I'm
like,
just
you
saying
can,
if
like,
you're having
but I
trouble.
don't know. I can't figure out how you do it without the. Why can I not find this? I feel like such a.
I do too.
Now it makes me.
If you're not like in the thick of it.
Yeah, because I haven't. I'm not. See, now I'm okay. Well, while we're doing
Now I
this,
want
I'm
to
gonna
go get
keep
on
looking.
game and like.
I know. I'm like, my
Yeah,
computer's
it's-
right here, but I don't know how to split my screen. So
It's like, yeah, it's like pause game. But okay, while we're looking into, is there anything else with the Gen 2 for any tips and tricks when it comes to like the politician aspect, or like getting married when you're an elder?
Taking photos with your friends so you can romance them.
right, exactly. You
That's
get your
true.
friendship
That's
up
true.
really good. That's definitely a good one.
Yeah. No, go ahead,
Sorry,
Sarah.
I was gonna say, oh my gosh, what's the word? always talking up your political platform with literally if any sim says hi, like always choosing that interaction to talk about your platform, your cause that you're going for in your political career, and it will increase your career
Okay.
goals and tasks, and then it gets you promoted faster in the political career. So that's a really great way to like get to being level 10 as quickly as
So
possible.
according to this, speaking of the political career and our protesting, once you do pick your cause, you should be able to click on the ground anywhere.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Anywhere. Click on it and you should get the option to protest for your cause.
Yeah.
And then people will come, especially if your charisma is high. Like my advice, with the Rose Gen is amp that, like when they're a kid, do social, get their social all the way up.
Read those charisma books.
Like, and then once they hit teens,
the aspiration,
get that charisma up. You're right. The serial romantic does require the charisma skills to be pretty high.
Yeah.
So,
but if you do the kid aspiration, the social butterfly, I believe, it helps you so much.
Yes, I agree. It does. It kind of gives them, because it give them the extra trait, right? Like that little boost.
The little extra trait.
Yes.
Love it. Is there anything else that we can add about Gen 2 before we move to Gen 3?
Just make sure you're uber sneaky with your sim, because unless you have the things to, if you're doing vanilla, those sims, they get really touchy.
Oh, and because this is what derailed mine, make sure you only have one child.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, you can only have one child.
Yeah.
Because that's what derailed my not so very, but I'm still going on. I'm a rule breaker. Rules are meant to be broken. Accidents happen.
Did you have twins?
They do.
No, Rosa. So Rose is in a poly relationship.
Okay.
And so while she was split with her other partner, she is part of the drama, but so she like, and it was a game glitch, and which I didn't even know could happen on console. She got pregnant and had another baby, and I already had my Gen 3, so I've got two Rose Gen babies.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to add that I saw Simstagram, I'm not sure who, that had twins, and they're so creative about it, and they gave one up for adoption, so they have only one.
That is really creative. I like that a lot.
Yeah, no, I would have never thought of that, to be super honest.
Because if you have the wellness, I believe you can do that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Are we ready to move to Gen 3?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is yellow. Okay.
I love yellow.
Okay, Gen 3 yellow. Growing up, you never had a close relationship with your parents and spent majority of their time alone in your room obsessing over space. You just really love space. You'll do whatever it takes to get to Sixum at no matter the cost. Trait, clumsy, ambitious, loner. Aspiration, nerdy brain, career, astronaut, rules, master rocket science and handiness skills, master astronaut career and complete the nerdy brain aspiration. Must build a rocket ship and visit Sixum. Enter the secret law on Oasis Springs.
Yeah.
Never have any close friends or relationships other than the grandparents from Generation 1 until the grandparents die.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
You can go in so many ways about this.
You can. You definitely can. Now, like Sass and Sarah, Sarah, I don't know if you've done, this is your first time doing Not So Berry?
Yes, because I don't have the get to work back.
Okay. And now Sass, I know you're in Yellow Gen now. I did not do the original Yellow Gen because quite honestly, I wasn't sure if I was gonna like the astronaut career. And I had watched so many Not So Berries on YouTube. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. So I did the Yellow Gen from Not So Berry 2.0, which is very similar. The rules are very similar. Everything else is the same, except you're not going into an astronaut career. it's the conservationist career. So like it's like your family was all into science and politics, and then you wanted to be on the beach and doing all these things, which for me hit harder than doing the astronaut career at the time, because I love the beach and I love Sulani. It's like one of my favorite world. I should probably is my favorite world in The Sims. It's just, it always makes me so happy, and I get the greatest photos there. So it was very similar though. Everything else had to be the same. Like the rules were the same. With the grandparents, that's a tricky one though with the grandparents, especially if you're playing without mods.
Yeah, it is. It's a long haul.
You know, the only suggestion I have for that portion, especially if you're focusing on your Rose Gen's career and you don't have your yellow gen until say you're out of your young adult or you're at the end of your young adult, you're gonna want to maybe turn your aging off. At least until your yellow gen is like a toddler, and then turn it back on, because nowhere in the rules does it state that you are only close with your grandparents up until you're a teen or up until you're a child. It just states that they're your only friends until they pass away. So if you're finding that your mint gen is kind of getting up there, you know, you could put aging off. But here's another, I did this with every single generation after gray gen. In gray gen, this is skipping just a second because it's the next generation. You have to do the bodybuilder aspiration, and when you do the bodybuilder aspiration, you get a trait of long lived. So you do get, I think, usually anywhere between like 10 to 15 extra sim days, or it could be more. So what I do suggest, even with your mint gen, because you can do it, you can finish aspirations really quickly. Have your mint gen do the bodybuilder aspiration to get the long live trait. They'll definitely be around then for your yellow gen, because that's really kind of an intricate part, especially for the original Not So Berry yellow generation, going into being an astronaut and getting into space. Because you think about it, they give you that piece you need right there. Well, your grandparent, your grandma, she was or your grandfather, however you start it, you know, they were a famous scientist and they did all these crazy things and these great things. And, you know, if you have the Strangerville pack, a lot of people will bring the Strangerville portion into it, which makes a lot of sense when you meld the scientist and the astronaut careers. It goes hand in hand. So that is nice. So that is the one big thing I think for yellow gen, is really make sure that you do what you need to have your mint generation there, even if it's just your mint gen, not necessarily her spouse or her significant other. I mean, I know that sounds awful, but the spouses are important, I think, in story, or maybe they are like really important like in certain gameplay. But I think I sound ridiculously rude when I say this, but for me, my main focus is my whoever my heir is. So like, it's great if they have a significant other, and it's great if they have a spouse. Don't get me wrong, I think that most of their spouses are really hot. I can look at them all the time, but I take photos of that. My concern is like my heir, you know, like because I have a hard time focusing on multiple generations at one time. So like, once I like move on, I'm like, okay. But handiness too, like I'd say they can't start handiness right until they're a teen, I think, Sass, right?
I think so. But the earlier, as soon as you can, like, start working on that handiness.
The woodworking table.
It's a grind.
Yeah. The woodworking table for sure. And what is the lot in Oasis Springs that's by the
Acquisition? It's Acquisition Butte, and because that's where I have my Gen 3 tribe, so they're on that lot. And so if anybody is trying to find the hidden grotto, it's directly behind that household, that lot there. And it is actually, if anybody is looking for that lot, it's actually where the land grab, right across from the land grab house. So you want to just bulldoze that land grab house off and say goodbye, because I mean, who really cares?
Right.
It's the land grab.
Like, move them somewhere else.
Just yeet them off of that.
Or
And
you-
you're perfectly set up for finding your lot and working on your handiness and going to the hidden grotto and all that stuff. So.
or if you really can't find the grotto in Oasis Springs, you can find it in Debug. I
Yes.
don't know if anyone has done this and
Really?
placed it
Yeah.
on
I did
the
not know
dock.
that.
Really?
Go in the yes.
I've done that for like, no, don't. Oh, I thought that was open. I'm so sorry. My cat's on the table. Okay. Oh, geez. Okay. Like for like the magic stuff and things like that. Because I know like in my blue gen, I had brought in some of that. I remember putting those portals on my lot. I put like portals on my lot all the time. I'm like, I'm too lazy to take them to another world. I'll just bring it here.
That is true.
I love that. Now, Sass, this is your time. This is your floor. This is your generation that you're in. Explain your not so berry and where you're at.
Okay. So I am on Gen 3, Yellow Gen, the astronaut career, and gosh, I've probably been doing my whole not so berry story for well over a year now, which is not probably normal how most people play their not so berry. But I'm actually telling a story, so I need to move a little bit, a lot slower than most everybody else. So I do have my aging turn off again. Like I said, my Rose gen kind of derailed. I was really sticking to the rules, like hard rules, and then when Rosa threw that out the window, I just like, oh well, I'm just throwing the rules out the window, except for money and the career and doing that. But anyway, long story long, I'm on the yellow gen, and so Maisie is my astronaut, and with mine, I'm doing a sci-fi twist on my story. So her grandmother is linked to the Sixum aliens, and she was abducted as a young child, and there's a lot of mystery around that and trying to figure out even though she was best friends with her grandmother held a lot of secrets and deception around that, and then so she's trying to unravel this mystery of what happened to her grandmother, but she's also set up with her partner. So spoiler alert for those of y'all who are like just catching my story, but so her partner is an alien in disguise, and not only is he an alien in disguise, he is the Prince of Sixum. So he is about to be becoming the King of Sixum, which is going to make her queen. So it's kind of that whole princess prince fairy tale trope thing, but with a sci-fi twist. And so yeah, that's where I'm going with mine. And while she's trying to solve this mystery, and also I'm building a ton of lore around the Sixum aliens, since that seems to be it's just neglected in the Get to Work pack and EA. EA spends a lot of time on the occults, and I'm not going to get on the soapbox, but here I am. And so, but they glaze over the alien aspect of that occult, and so I'm taking the time out to build that lore, which is why I move a little bit slower as well. So yeah, and the astronaut career is it's a grind, just like the scientist career, because you have to do so many space trips and work on your rocket science, which I felt like just took a lot of work and a really long time, because again, I'm still trying to hit all those rules as far as that gen's concerned, because handiness seems to take a while to do, and then the rocket science career, and then building the rocket seems to take up a lot of time. So
yeah,
it's a grind, and I'm almost wrapped up with yellow gen, and I'm about to move on to my gray, but I'm very excited. So but that's kind of my my little journey in a nutshell. I've probably
because
missed everything.
you definitely, I love your story. Like that's the one thing I love. Like I love when you take the not so berry and you turn it into something like that. I mean, like let's be fair. Like I did do yellow gen, and I made her the conservationist. And Sass knows like I have like this severe love for Hawaii 5-0 and like Steve McGarrett, right? So like in my yellow gen, she was the conservationist, but you know, her and Steve McGarrett were friends when they were kids, and then he left when she was a teenager, and I even downloaded a mod so he could go into like the Navy and he could be like the and then he comes back because like it was, I mean, like mine was just very like fan fiction in my head, like I'm just gonna live out my own fan fiction with this. And like she got married to him, and like it doesn't specify, does it, in Yellow Gen, you don't have to only have one child, is it?
No.
So like
And yeah.
well, my Yellow Gen, like Zari and Steve, like they were just like they were my first favorite couple. Like I love them, and they were when I actually learned how to use some of the pose packs. But man, they had like 4 or 5 kids, and then when my Gray Gen went away to university, you know, she comes back the first time, and my Yellow Gen, there she is pregnant with the 6th baby. I'm like, Jesus, I can't believe this. But you know, Steve McGarrett, who can blame her? You know, I'd be having a whole bunch of babies too.
I'm not sure if anyone watched Kelsey Dangerous.
Yes.
Like the 3rd gen, the Yellow Gen. I was so inspired by that storyline.
That was a good storyline. That was a really good
Because Gray
storyline.
Gen is all into parenting.
Yes.
And if the Yellow Gen had only one kid and her father was very elderly, was old, I feel like that really, really settled the Gray Gen.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. You really have to, when you're in Gen 3, think about the Gen 4 rules, just because they're supposed to be different, you know,
than the
set
rest of the
apart.
family.
Yeah, than the rest of the family, kind of that whole, you know, outcast. So I think that's why, you know, a lot of people trying to set up the Gen 3 as, perhaps that's a little bit chaotic, as far as the relationships were concerned with Gen 3 heiress or heir and their partner. But also I think that's why a lot of people also turn to like the occult part, because that also sets you out as being different. Again, there is so much there in Gen 3, just like there is in Gen 1, that you can take and launch, pun intended, your great Gen, you know, into the next generation. So it's, to me, it's really exciting and it's really inspiring. And there's just so much there. This is such a good challenge just for that aspect alone.
Because they make it so easy with the challenge, because they give you the building blocks. So regardless of what story you had going on for Mint Gen into Rose Gen, the rules and things that they set up for you, whether you do the original Not So Berry or you do like the 2.0, they're giving you those building blocks. So really all you're doing is looking at your generation, and you're looking at what like the mom at that time is doing or how their life is going, and you can be like, this is great, because now as a toddler I can give them this trait because it will fit with like how I want it to go, or where I want them to start going towards. As like, you can really start honing in when you get to that 3rd generation.
Yeah, you can. There's
now
so many
you've
building
already
blocks.
built what's going on, and you have the Mint Gen, and you have the Rose Gen, and you have a family dynamic in your game at this point with 3 generations. That's the one thing, again, I think with Not So Berry, whether you're getting confused or you don't like the gameplay, focus on what like you've already created. Like, you're in a 3rd generation, that means you've had 2 you built and you created your Mint Gen, who did crazy good things, and you had a great time playing it. Then all of a sudden you have a 1st generation born in your game. Well, that's pretty exciting, because a lot of people don't get that far. Then you get into the 3rd gen and you're like, holy crap, we've done it. We're 3 gens in, you know, and then you get real psyched and you're like, oh, let's do this, or let's do that, or let's add this in there.
Yeah, and exactly. And you at this point have literally built family lore. So you have built from Gen 1 all the way up to your 3rd, like this really great substantial family lore. And to me, that in itself is exciting, even if you don't like gameplay. And so another thing I want to say, that because I see a lot of not so berry folks and they really like fly through, and I think they miss a lot of that family lore that they could really like spend time and enjoy. So my other shout out is to like, even though you're doing the not so berry, kind of slow down a little bit, take your time and enjoy that,
Yeah.
especially when you're in these deeper gens. You at this, I think about Gen 3, I see a lot of people get kind of fatigued and they just want to grind through it and get through it and get on to the next and the next and the next. But just take a moment to like slow down and enjoy what you're building. Enjoy this family legacy and the lore that you're creating as you go along into these gens.
I need a throwback to main gen because I saw Sass has alien earrings. And I wanted to say, when I was creating the house, the main matriarch, I always fell asleep thinking about my storyline that Minjen is having.
Oh
so
goodness.
Oh, I love
You
that.
you do though. You fall in love with those.
No, you do. It's they become part of you. You created these characters, you follow them along, you watch them on their journey, and you watch them grow.
And like Sass said, you know, whether you're doing the not so, like if you start the not so berry because you want to get into doing stories and you want to do Instagram, or you're just getting into not so berry because you're kind of burnt out on your gameplay, take your time, because even if you're not doing a story online or you're trying to do it for yourself, you know, like tell yourself a story in your head and watch your, you know, sometimes let your not so berry characters kind of go autonomous and see what they do, you know,
it's so much fun.
Yeah, and just click some things or take some videos just so you can watch it later. And if you do want to do a story, great. If you don't want to do a story and you're just playing for yourself, you're thoroughly enjoying it. I mean, I get very proud of my, I get very proud of my errors. Like I was so proud when Zari, my yellow gen, when her and Steve cleaned up Sulani and it was like amazing. And then there was turtles hatching and these were parts of the game that I never took the time to do before I did this challenge.
Yeah, so when you hit milestones, whether you're doing it for story or not, or just for your self enjoyment, when you hit those milestones, it just feels so good. It's so validating. Like,
it hits
look at
that
all the hard
gamer
work
side, right?
that me and my Sam just accomplished. Like,
you're like, awesome, because that's the gamer part. I think like there's everybody forgets that, like, you see all the not so berry stories and you see everybody's versions, and don't get me wrong, I mean, they're amazing. Some of the people I follow, some of these storylines, I'm freaking dying over them. Like I'm crying in the morning or I'm laughing. But and of course I just lost my train of thought. It was like a chicken just crossed the road. I cannot. Oh my goodness. I'm going to digress because I totally forgot where I was going with that.
Just basically take your time and enjoy it and enjoy the moment.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, is it gamer? Because everybody forgets that it's not just about the stories and like the pictures and all these things that you're doing. It's about the challenge. It's no different than like my kids playing like Call of Duty or my husband playing Apex. Like I get such like a kick. Like they're like, yeah, I got so many kills, and I'm like, do you know what my air did today? She cleared the ocean, or oh, she got one. Like I'm like so uber geeked, and he's just like, all right, okay, that's fantastic.
I love that because I feel like people just kind of grind through because they just want to say that they've done it, but they don't actually sit and smell the roses. They kind of just like, okay, let's just keep going.
Yeah, and I see that a lot, and it just makes me like want to tell them like, slow down.
Well, I mean, like it's with my first not so berry, I think it took me less than a year, but I didn't go into it planning on doing story stuff. And like on my Instagram and things like that, I went into some detail, but let's be fair, I am not like an uber storyteller. I can tell myself better stories in my head than I can put down in my posts. Like I can do phenomenal photos. I'm great with the photos. I can give you a show with my photos, but like when it comes to what I write, it's not like, you know, it's like apples to oranges when we're talking about like Sass here, like her stories and your story. Oh my God. Like, I'm like all the time, I'm like rolling through there. And even if I'm not liking it, I'm always trolling. I think it is just like, it's so much, there's so much you're doing, whether you're the not so berry, like, and I feel like I'm so passionate about this. I just feel like no matter what version you do of any of the generations,
Mm-hmm.
get so much out of it. If you're a
Yes.
true Sims player, if you're a
Yes.
true Sims lover, and you, even if you haven't been around playing since the beginning versus now, you know, it's great. I mean, we goes by levels in our house when it comes to ages. Like, we don't do ages. It's like, you're a level this, you're a level that, because, you know, that way my husband and I can be like, yeah, we're higher levels than you, because, you know, kids think you're stupid. But it kind of goes in with it. Like, Sims, like, it might be hard and I might whine or complain, or I'll leave poor Sass like 20 freaking messages on her DMs. And I'm like, can you imagine that, you know, this just happened to Alec in my game, or this just happened to Rowan, or can you believe that, you know,
Yeah.
but like when Cole came in to
Yeah.
visit, oh my, I mean, like, the chaos that ensues, but it's
Yeah.
so great. Like, the gameplay for me is such a feed. Like, Yellow Gen was one
Yeah.
of my favorite gens, I think, of my Not So Berry. Like, Mint Gen was fun. Like, I had more fun with this round of Mint Gen, and my Rose Gen the first time was pretty fun. This one I have a lot of fun plans for. Like, she's going to be doing some stuff that I maybe wouldn't have done before. But
Yeah.
my first Yellow Gen, Zari, man, she brought a whole new level of loving the game for me. Not
Yeah.
only was she expressive as a sim and really fun to play, because I think that's another thing when you talk about rushing through these challenges, you don't really get to see those nuances of your character. You're so
Mm-hmm.
focused on a story, or you're focused on what you have pictured in your head, that you're not seeing what's unfolding right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the glorious thing about The Sims, and the glorious thing about Not So Berry, is that if you just let them do their thing for a little while, it's like watching your own TV show. And like, not
Yeah.
only that, but it's like planned seasons. You're like, oh, we're in season yellow right now. Let's see what's happening. Let's turn on that computer. What are they doing? What's Steve doing? Is he swimming? Is he
Yeah.
doing handy stuff? I mean,
Yeah,
like,
you get to
what's
see
going
their
on?
personality. Yeah, yeah, and just embrace that. So yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think if, especially if you're burnt out on playing The Sims in general, if you've just been playing just nothing, no challenges or whatever, it just brings, I feel like it brings a sense of renewal back.
I like
For
I
the
that.
agree.
love.
I like that. Now, we do
I
have to.
want to say
Yeah.
that Mimi said that if you let them be, I first thought of them always being on the TV, computer, they're not
Yeah.
doing anything else,
Does
I
it
swear.
does
Or
it make you think
dying.
of Wreck-It Ralph? Like, I think of Wreck-It Ralph, and I'm like, if my Sims could talk and I
Oh
shut
my
my
gosh.
computer off and it was like Wreck-It Ralph, the things that they would say, like, what is this lady thinking? Like,
Yeah, they're like, oh,
But they would be either watching
right,
TV, playing on the computer, or dying. There's
right,
no in between.
there's something they're doing.
I love that. Now, I do have to wrap up generation 3, because we do have to move on. We still have 6 more generations.
Seven. Oh,
Seven
geez.
more generations. Okay, generation 4. Also, thank you for sharing for generation 3. Generation 4 is gray. You always felt that you were different from the rest of your family, was busy messing around the lab. You just wanted to go outside and playing basketball. You're very good at sports, and you dream of becoming a professional athlete to make up for the non-existing relationships with your parents. You want to be there for your own children as much as possible. Oh, and you also love to sing. Traits: active, slob, music lover. Aspirations: bodybuilder, career, athlete. Rules: master singing, parenting, and the athletic skill. Master the athletic career and complete the bodybuilding aspirations. Have 3 failed relationships before finding your spouse and marry a neat sim. Be good friends with all of your children. Have a family movie night with your spouse and child every Sunday.
Yes.
Oh man, that's a
Yeah.
lot. That is a lot.
But it's fun. It is fun.
No, go ahead. Anyone who wants to
I
go
said,
ahead.
like, for me, again, Gray Gen, I had done the athletic career a lot.
Mhm.
So I did the 2.0 version, which
Okay.
was a style influencer.
Okay.
But I gave her the bodybuilder aspiration when she was a teenager, but I followed hers. But what I love about everything, again, like, whether it's the 2.0 or the regular version, all of the mainstays are the same. You have the same exact traits in all of them. You have the same skills, basically because of the type of job. But I found it really fun. I found it fun because you do get that change. You went from whatever you were doing with your yellow gen, whether it was the astronaut career or one of the other careers, and it is the polar opposite. Like it's so fun because you know, depending on how long you take too. So if you take a couple of months to do your yellow gen and you get into your gray gen, it's like a whole new world. That's the greatest thing about the generations. Like the bodybuilder aspiration can be a grind, but I don't find that it's the best thing you can do with your Sims. I think when it comes to that aspiration is a lot of jogging,
Okay.
and a lot of treadmill and a lot of weights. And if you're on an island like where my gray gen did grow up on Sulani, she swam a lot. Like she didn't like swimming, but I made her do it anyway.
Yes.
Because I found that the hardest part of the bodybuilder aspiration was just getting to that peak like body that they have you get, which I think is when your sim is like 100% muscle and no body fat.
Yeah.
So I liked the dynamic, although I do find that I get rather, I think on a personal level, uncomfortable when it comes to having to do shoddy relationships. Like I've got no problem with like the serial romantic thing, but like I hate building a relationship between Sims and like they're like doing these things, and especially if you know like they find each other really attractive or they do really well, but you're like, man, I gotta break you guys up. Like what do I have to do? Like, is he gonna cheat or is she gonna cheat or are they gonna do that? It's like for me, I felt it very like it was very panicked. I think like if Sass and I were talking at that time, she probably would have gotten even more DMs than she gets now on a regular basis. Because like I get like I'll even now, like no matter if it's my not so berry or the alphabet, I'm like I'll be like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. Like I feel weird. Do I post this or do I play this or what do I do?
You
with
almost
my
take it personal.
You do, because like I feel like I'm like it's not me that's having a bad relationship. It's my poor generational heir here. She's like I'm making her life a living hell because you got to have 3 bad relationships before you're happy.
Yeah,
you know?
And what's bad is when you fall in love with that partner as a person too.
And you don't want to be like, let me create a character that's really crappy, because then you feel bad because you don't want to put your gray gen into a relationship with someone that's really crappy. It's
like they don't deserve this.
By gray gen, again, you're like 4th generation. So like now you've watched like all these babies grow up, and like by now your mint gen's probably passed away. Let's be fair. Even your rose gen, my poor rose gen in my first series, because I didn't shut my aging off until I think I got into pink gen. Now my not so berry that I do now, I have it on long life. And they're like custom settings for each ones. And that's just because I just decided that I'm going to share more. Like I didn't do much with mint gen on the stories, but I like gray gen outside of the relationships, which I think that's the hardest. I mean, for me, that was the hardest part, was the crappy relationships that you had to do, because you do feel guilty because you're like, man, I watched your mom and your grandma grow up and I feel so horrible that I'm doing this to you because they had this great romantic story. And I'm like, I'm sorry, it sucks to be you, but I have to break you up with 3 people before you're
I'm not looking forward to that part.
You know, I did mine. So, see, I was horrible in that. I was very light-footed on that. Like I did it because for me, I rushed through it in game. So when I put it on Simstagram, it was like, okay, this was failed relationship number 1. This was failed relationship number 2. But I never really showed a relationship. It was just like a post of like their face with somebody says I couldn't
like
do it.
Speed bump.
Yeah, it's like a little speed bump.
Yeah. I love that. And then like, because so did you say, sorry, for when you did the 4th generation, you didn't do the athlete, you did the style influencer.
I did the style influencer, which is the not so very 2.0.
Okay.
Which is really the same thing. It just they have extra rules on it, and because I think it came out when there was more packs.
Okay.
But like the athletic career itself, I don't think that's like the biggest grind. I think the biggest grind on that I felt was just you make no freaking money until you're like what level 6. So you're like, unless you already have established. That is the nice thing about, I think, Gen 4. There are no rules that say you can't get money from family. I know that in the original rules, it does say you can use money cheats or you can do real estate. Past my first gen, I didn't do that. So what I tried to focus on from gen 1 up until this point was making sure that there was a consistent amount of money so my next gen could take X amount of money and go on and do whatever they were going to do.
Okay.
Now I think if you don't like the athletic career, and I, like I said, I only didn't do it because I had done it so many times. I find that the easiest way, and this is in any generation, if you can tolerate it, have them do university. Because if they do university, you're skipping all the way to level 8 in any job that you do. Now, because the athletic career, you don't get to go with them. Like, you don't. And the most thing you do at home, what do you do? Like exercise? I mean, I felt like with the style influencer, I liked it because she had a digital pad and she would do all these sketches all the time, and you couldn't go with her, but she could work at home. And it was fun because I really liked the art part, and it brought a little bit of the art in there too. And it was cool because you get so many different ideas. Like even if they're like who was it? Oodles does hers, and her gray gen, she followed the rules in the sense where she was an athlete, but she took it to where she was like a circus performer, and she like did all those things on like those, what are those circles and like all this stuff, and like it was this whole, like she went a whole different route than I had ever seen anybody do for a gray gen. I think that's what makes that athletic career fun. If you're not like gameplay, we know that athlete career is boring. However, change it. I've seen people do it. Like, I love the idea of like a professional snowboarder, you know, and you have a story going on with that, because once you finish the bodybuilder aspiration, which goes really quick, especially as a teen, you can switch him over to the other athlete one, which is I think it's like the adventure, the sports, or the sports enthusiast. And then you can do really cool things and go to Mount Komorebi and have them do like the mountain climbing, and you know, add all those to kind of really, because if you're just like, oh yeah, I'm doing the athlete career, you're going to get bored. I mean, most people are going to get bored. So if you add some of the other elements that you're not using, like snowboarding, skiing, how often are you using those in your gameplay?
Never.
So, you know, and I love like the rock climbing is great, because if you have the money to get the rock climbing machine, you can, or you can read the books. But I'll tell you, one of the funnest things on Grey Gen, and I did it with mine, even though she wasn't the athlete, was she did the mountain climbing, and they did like the summit. And that was great because like I did the summit, and because I did the summit in my Grey Gen, when I did it again in my green gen, I had a cabin built up on the summit. So like they got to stay there, and that's where my green gen got married. Although I had to do a lot, but that's a totally different story. There was a lot of traits that had to happen because they kept freezing to death on the summit. But I mean, you can do those fun things like that. I think what makes the Grey Gen, especially the original, find a sport aspect that is interesting to you or that you haven't tried. Like I love the snowboarding in The Sims. I mean, some people might find it lame, but I was a huge SSX Tricky fan, and my husband and I played that nonstop. So like doing the snowboarding in The Sims, although you can't like control what they're doing, as they get higher, they do some pretty cool crap on those mountains, and it's fun to watch.
Oh, that's awesome. And that's another way to put it as well, because I agree. I haven't played too many careers through and through, but I've definitely played the athletic one, and it can get pretty tedious, pretty boring pretty quickly. But again, smelling the roses, right? Like trying to make it better. Does anyone have anything else to add? Sorry, Sass.
I do. No, that's okay.
I do. When you said that treadmill and those kind of things help, I wanted to add that if you have city living, you can actually dream big on the basketball.
I forgot
and
about that.
Brings your fitness skills so high up, so fast.
It does really fast.
I did not know that. That is really good to know.
That's good to know. I had no idea either. I've never played basketball in The Sims 4.
It's so much fun.
It is, but I didn't know. I didn't realize that it raised it that fast. I never really paid attention.
Yeah, it's super fast. That's like one of my
favorite. Fourth of the skill in one dream.
Wow, really?
Wow.
Exactly.
So they grow the skill so fast if you do that.
That is definitely
I
very good to know.
actually speedrun the skill
Nice.
once. because I
Nice.
had nothing else to do. So I wanted to see how long would it take to finish the fitness skill.
Hmm.
And it was like, I don't want to, I think it was like 20 minutes or something.
Oh,
Like it
wow.
was so fast.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's awesome.
That's good to know.
I was
Sassmo,
gonna,
what were you going to say?
yeah, yeah, no, I was gonna say because you also have to master the singing skill.
Yeah.
For Gen 4. I mean, obviously I'm not there yet, but that's another avenue you can take that's gonna set you up for your next gen for let's see, Plum Gen, because they're
Yeah.
more the entertainer.
Mhm.
So as far as like gameplay and story, if you're doing that route, I feel like that also opens up a door of opportunity because you're going to take them out singing and karaoke and just kind of leading them up into the next gen for the Plum Gen. So
I love that
I
you
feel
say
like,
that so much. I don't mean to interrupt you. I love that you say that so much because when I get it, I have big plans for my gray gen for this Not So Berry. And one of the plans was I was actually going to have her be singing a lot of singing. So like
yeah,
her, the air for Plum would be, I was like, I love that you say that because you're right. You kind of really set
yeah.
up for Plum Gen.
Exactly, because I'm already thinking about my gray gen, my next gen. Actually, I'm already thinking about all my other gens leading up to it because I'm also doing it with a sci-fi twist. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do my story
I can't
with
wait for that.
now these gens that have nothing to do with science fiction and things like that. So I'm already like brainstorming things and looking into these different avenues, and I was already looking at the whole entertainment route and just that portion. I'm not gonna go any deeper into discussing, but because I don't want to like be spoilers or anything like that. But we're all speaking on the bodybuilding portion of it, but I was also looking at the entertainment portion,
Yeah.
which then leads you into that very next gen. So
Mhm.
you're leading up to that, and I think there's a lot of really great opportunity there.
Well,
That
I agree with you. Oh, I love your cup.
thank you.
I'm so sorry. I mean, I think too, like if you you can add some of your own stuff to it as well. Like with my gray gen that's coming up, I'm trying to use this Not So Berry as a way to hone different skills like video editing and other things that I haven't done outside of. I'm using the challenge to challenge myself in other areas of the gameplay outside. So like with my gray gen, some of the singing and stuff that will be, I'm hoping in the videos, like I'm going to add stuff of my own that's in there. So like if it's her singing, it'll be me singing, which that's a big thing for me because I'm using it as my own platform to do something I wouldn't do. So I've used my gray gen as that. So I think too, sometimes you can like live vicariously through your Sims, and like gray gen, I'm uber excited to do it again. And be able to really hone in on parts that I didn't. So
I love that.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see, especially Sassmouth, when you get to Gen 4. I do have to wrap up Gen 4 so we can move on to the next generation. Does anyone have anything else they want to add? Nope.
I'm good.
Okay. Give me 2 seconds. Okay. Gen 5, Plum. You've always been good at anything you've tried. It's hard to choose a career, so why not try a few? You work as a doctor for much of your life, but you realize that your true dream is to become a professional dancer. You quit your job and join the entertainment career. Basically, you're an indecisive oddball. Traits: genius, non-committal, dance machine. Aspiration: Renaissance sim. Career: fast food doctor entertainer. Rules: must master dance and 2 other skills of your choice, achieving at least a level 8 in 6 skills. Complete the Renaissance sim aspiration. Get divorced and then later remarry the same sim. Must live in at least 3 different worlds over the course of your life. Oh my god.
yeah.
Okay.
Plum Gen,
In my opinion, this is the hardest gen.
honestly though, it does seem hard, but I did the regular Not So Berry Plum. So although the doctor career is slightly a grind, like most, I like it because you can go to the hospital with them because it's with that get to work. So it's one of those careers. I found it very fun though, because I love having chaotic sims. Like I found that, and this is something I think not another thing that Not So Berry is so good for is you will find something in each generation that reflects something in your life. Like
Yeah.
Plum Jen, her chaos and her bouncing from this, that, and the other thing and being indecisive. It was like, oh my God, this is so great. So like it's hard, but it's fun. Like I mean, you get to work on so many different skills. You know, that's the fun thing about you don't have to concentrate on a group of specific skills.
Mhm.
You find what your sim likes and like let them try things, and then you can just build off of that, which I think is the most important part of Plum Gen is just you have to let your sim guide you in Plum Gen at least until they're like in their mid-teens, because they will tell you what's going to be the easiest for you and what's not going to be. This gen though, I think with Plum Gen, it's really important for anybody doing it. Make sure that your house traits, your lot traits fit. Now you should do this, I think, in any gen that makes sure your lot traits fit what you need. But because it's a Renaissance sim, you can go in there and like do like home, like what is it, the chef's
Like,
kitchen, and like
right.
you know, or if you
Bracing
want to work
breezes
on
or something.
writing, do like the fast internet or fitness with the bracing breezes, because it's going to make it really easy. And you'll find that with your Plum Gen, your teen years are going to be your heaviest years to get your skills up, and you could realistically hit your 6/8s like right in your teen years if you're pushing. Because with I say childhood on Plum, my opinion is doing the mental aspiration as a child. If you finish that and you still have time, do creative, because you're going to need both of those, because they're a genius and they're a music lover. And if you don't get the handle on that when they're a kid, especially with the teen stuff they have now versus what they used to have, your poor teens will suffer when they're in school. They will suffer so bad when they're in
Oh my
school.
I was thinking about that because I was like, man, because yeah, now there's so much more with the high school
Yeah.
pack. Like
Mhm.
that gen is really there's so much there, you know, that's now
That's what I am
awesome.
excited about. They didn't have the high school pack when I did Plum, and I feel like with that you would want your teen to be the overachiever aspiration,
Yeah.
you know, and like they go to prom and they got to be the prom queen or king, and you know, you got like
Oh,
all
yeah.
these little things that you can add in to that indecisiveness, because it really all depends, I think, on how you play out that gen. Because the Renaissance sim aspiration, I don't feel is hard. I feel like for me, that's probably the easiest aspiration, because I love making my sims do like thousands of things,
Me
because
too.
you know, I can't multitask as well as they can, because there's no one putting my stuff in a bar for me, like do this, 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 and this, you know. So like,
Exactly.
but I do feel in Plum Gen, I know that it says like it gives you this base, like you want to be a dancer, and that's like a big portion of it. I feel like because that is there, a majority of the Not So Berries that I've seen, a lot of people tend to roll towards the ballerina for like they do the doctor career and they only do it for so long. My suggestion is take that doctor career all the way to 10.
Yeah.
Why? Because there are some perks to that. Like, did you know when you're a level 10, I don't know if you've done the doctor career, but when you hit level 10 on the doctor career, you can actually tell Sims what the gender of their baby is if they're pregnant. I think that's the coolest thing.
That is very cool.
You know, like, I think that's great, because I make them all do the bodybuilder one. So then Plum Jen's around for a while, and then she can be like that quirky grandma or that quirky aunt. It's like, you know, like I think that there's a lot to the Plum Gen, because it's easy playthrough if you like the Renaissance sim. If you like the skills, Plum Gen's going to be great. The doctor career, if you like the grind, I think that it's really great. And there's a lot you can do with that doctor career. I mean, you don't have to have your doctor like sim just be like a doctor that goes in there. It gives you such a vast variety of openings, because let's face facts, how many shows are there out there that are about doctors? And if you're like me, who like bases my story off of my own ridiculous fan fiction in my head about like the wonderfully delicious actors that are in those shows, I'm like, it's great. It's great for that.
Yeah,
Plus,
there's
you got to
so
think
much
again, that Plum Gen's lining you up for Orange Gen. And Orange Gen, if anything is freaking chaotic, it is Orange Gen. So what's better than having this chaotic, well, controlled chaos, I guess, with Plum, who's
Yeah.
super smart and they do all these things, and that's what you grew up with, So like I think the smartest thing in Plum Gen is to make that character as eccentric as possible. Like just have them be like, it doesn't matter. Like maybe they dress crazy, maybe they just have like such an extensive amount of knowledge that they just spew it out at you all the time, and like that's what you grew up with, and like your mom being like, oh, or oh, they did this in school, oh, that's okay, they're just being creative, oh, they didn't mean to hit that kid, they were just testing out their strength, that kind of person. Because I feel like Plum Gen, that's what that screams to me, is like you're this ridiculously smart, crazy, chaotic person who just wants to do everything. Yeah, you have loves, like you want to be a singer, or maybe you do want to do the dance thing. For me, I won't do the dance part in this Not So Berry, because I have other plans for that already. But it just, there's so much, like the Plum Gen for me, it seems hard, it really does, but it's so much fun. Like there's so much fun, you can do so many things, there's so many reasons why your Sims can get divorced. It can be like with mine was more like I took an easy, my storytelling to myself was kind of easy on that, where she was just very indecisive and young, and she was changing who she was because she felt that like the things that she wanted to do weren't worth putting her effort into if she was going to fail. So it was more like, well, I'm not going to try, so I'll do something like this. And it changed the person she was, which in turn ended up killing her relationship with her significant other, because he was all about chasing the dreams. And she had chosen the person who was a dream chaser versus the solid, sturdy other doctor, because there's always some kind of menage a trois thing going on in the story. And it's just fun gameplay. And I'm rambling, I apologize. Just going
No,
on.
that's okay. I'm learning so much. You have no idea. I think like the most gameplay I've ever done in The Sims 4 was like back in like 2019, and I wanted to do like every career. So I started with the actress, and I think I did that, and I was like, I'm good. I'm
Like,
fine.
no, I don't want to do this anymore.
I'm good. I was just always like building. I've never really appreciated gameplay and like all the aspects of it. Now, unfortunately, I do have to wrap this one up just because we still have multiple more generations, and we are almost at 2 hours. So I gotta take it on to the next generation. If anyone has anything else to add.
I do.
You do? Okay.
I want to think that when I'm on Plum Gen, I hope I will be on Plum Gen sometimes. I am gonna move the normal lifespan to long lifespan as a child, so I can complete all the aspirations and get all the boosts as a teen, young adult,
It's a good idea.
That's brilliant.
And then move
is.
it back.
No, that is a good idea. So you have more time.
Yeah.
I like that. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to add for ending for the Plum generation, for generation 5? Because I just took a quick glance at generation 6. Holy shit.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It is crazy.
I'm excited about that one.
So generation 6, orange, you're the black sheep of your family, but with orange hair. You were raised in a hectic household. You always wanted to cause mayhem, but you really were just bad at being evil. You enjoy breaking into your neighbors' houses and eating their food. You really love baking and spending the majority of your spare time eating sweets. Traits: evil, self-absorbed, glutton. Aspiration: public enemy. Career: criminal. Rules: master baking and charisma. Master the criminal career and complete the public enemy aspiration. Must live in a need TLC apartment for your entire young adult life. Have twins, but only those 2 children. You may have to cheat. You might have to cheat to get twins. Insist on being evil. Claim to be the criminal mastermind, but nobody believes you, not even your own children. Oh my God. Okay.
I want to say something. My favorite color is orange, and it suits me because I'm chaotic, as always.
That's great. I love that.
I love that. Mimi, talk to me about Orange Jen.
Orange Jen. I love Orange Jen. I mean, I love chaos in The Sims anyway. I mean, who doesn't, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it makes it so much more fun. I feel like the first thing on this is the one thing that is hard is the public enemy aspiration. Getting through most of it isn't hard. I mean, it's not much different than Mischief. I mean, you have to have enemy. This one you have to have a lot of enemies. I find the hardest thing is having to witness death. You have to witness a sim dying or two sims dying, I think it is. And that can be a little bit of a
One
struggle.
other sim, I think.
What?
Sorry?
I'm sorry.
I think you have to witness one sim dying.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
And that can get a little difficult, you know, even like unless you know a lot of elders and you want to invite them over. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I had to cheat that one. That was a cheat one for me because my gameplay was just too much on it. I was like, no, I can't. I would try so hard. I'd bring people over. They never die. They always die when they would leave the house. And even though they had witnessed like even if you witness a death prior to that, if you did it before that aspiration point, it won't count it. So like it's kind of like if you watch if you ever saw Claire Sassmouthsimmer roll through her Orange Gen, even though Clem had witnessed her mom dying and witnessed somebody else dying, it still didn't count. She still had to find somebody at the end of that aspiration to do. The other only headache I find about Orange Gen is the TLC apartment. Like to me, like
those are awful.
That is just I never do the one with the dead body ever. I never do the dead body one. I can't do it because they always smell the dead body, and then they're trying to clean the carpet or they're trying to clean the floor.
Are like gross.
Yeah, and the only way you can get that dead body out of there is if you do I think the detectives thing all the way through, and that's if it's not glitched. I don't know if it's still glitched, but that's the only way you can get it because they have to investigate a death in like the city, and then they can get rid of the dead body outline. But that can be kind of challenging. Is it the Medina that has like that small like studio?
Yes, it's actually one of the TLC apartments is actually Townie Salim.
Yes.
His apartment is and the reason I know that
because you've got Salim.
Yeah.
Now,
and that's been in there, but
because I hated, and again, see, I'm horrible when I say this. I will say this because it's a challenge, and there's certain parts of challenges that maybe you don't want to challenge yourself with. So, you know, there's that penthouse that's over in City Living. You know, so Sass and Salim. Yeah. I redid that one because my Orange Gen was a combination of a criminal and a social media person, because I thought what would be funnier than like a criminal who was like PRing people, like making people look good. So she had this really uber nice place, and she had like this money, and like and she loved baking, and she ate constantly, and she was always using her daughter as like social media fodder, like, oh, look at how great I am, and like they would do all these things and she'd be building up everybody's stuff, but meantime on the back burner she's like doing the criminal career, and she's buying people off, and I'm like, it was great. I think like because I took and I combined the Not So Berry and 2.0, so like she was like, oh man, Tawny, she was crazy because she hated being mean. So every time she grew up like teen wise, she was a twin. My Orange Gen, she was a twin, and then she had younger siblings, but it was a challenge to figure out who was going to be the heir for that, which I think is your challenge with any time you have twins. But man, she like, I'm not kidding you, like she was so much fun because you have to be a glutton, right? That's one of your traits as Orange. But she would like go through these weird eating phases where she really didn't want to eat anything, but she'd still go into that refrigerator, and like the glutton sims, like I love watching them eat because like their cheeks puff up and they're like and they're like trying to eat their food, and like that made it even better because she was like this living in this apartment. Like the criminal career itself, I think it can be pretty challenging, but I don't think it's really challenging until about level 5 or 6. Then things start slowing down, because what they don't say in like the Not So Berry Orange, they don't, everybody's like TLC apartment, but you call your landlord. You don't want to call your landlord. If you're living in the TLC apartment and you're doing that for your orange gen, use it for your handiness, because the criminal career, which they don't state in the challenge, level 5 is when you have to really start amping up your handiness for the criminal career.
Okay.
So if you start that in the teen years, you're great. But if you don't until you move into the apartment, fix anything that breaks. Fix the same when it breaks, fix the, except I don't like electricity and Sims. So like I do avoid the sparking box.
Yeah.
I usually
And I was gonna say,
call.
don't go fix the sink and then go to the electrical panel.
Oh God. Right?
Say
Or
goodbye
the
to your
leaky
orange
pipes
gen.
that are right there. Yeah. Or
Yes.
they're done, because they always put those pipes right next to the electric box.
Yeah, and you're say goodbye to orange gen.
Yeah. Because you can make
Especially
it
in
really
vanilla.
believable to have a sim that is like legitimately a bad sim, but not at the same time. Like Tawny, she was ridiculously sweet, but like when she was pregnant, because of how I moved her forward, and she was that criminal with like with that freaking public enemy aspiration, when she was pregnant, because she got pregnant really early in my challenge, that was kind of like an oops, because she wasn't into guys.
Oh,
Disappear. Oh, there we are.
Yeah.
She like wasn't into like guys when she was in her young adulthood, but like one of the guys that she had a crush on her in her teens, I don't know, I think I was in the parents' house, I was in my plum gen house doing something, I had the same similar thing happen that Sass did. When I came back to her gameplay, she was pregnant, and I was like, seriously, like I was not ready for pink gen right now. So when I had her and her significant other go to the beach to do a photo shoot, here's my glutton sim, and she's pregnant, and there's another pregnant sim there, and like at first here's my Tawny sim, who like gets all like flustered and is like, oh, the sim is so great looking, and it's this girl sim with all the worst CC I have in my game. And then she starts being mean to her, and they start a fight, and there's these two pregnant sims in my game, they're fighting, and then after she's done fighting, she whips out a bagel out of her inventory, which I don't even know where she got it. She starts gluttonly eating it right there, and I was like, you can't. The orange gen will bring out so much chaos. When my gray gen Willow, I had brought her, no, yeah, it was when she passed away in my game. Coraline, my pink gen, was a kid, and I took them to Henford on Badley to do like a photo shoot. But when Willow got there, she died. I mean, like right when she showed up, she dies. Grim Reaper shows up, and Tawny, who for one flash of a second was upset that her grandmother just passed away in front of her, and my poor pink gen Coraline's crying over the body, and here's Tawny getting that attraction alert about the Grim Reaper. And then she's like trying to flirt with him, and she's flirtily like trying to get her grandmother back. Like, I didn't know you could do that in The Sims, but a mean sim, I guess, found her grandmother passing away extremely like erotic and a turn on, and she was trying to flirt her way into getting her grandma to live. I mean, like, Orange Gen will bring some crazy chaos. Crazy.
She was on brand. She was on
brand.
brand.
She was totally on brand.
And as a PR,
right? She's like, I know how to handle this. I'm a criminal and I'm PR.
Yeah, me and Stassi felt that like to our bones, because we were like working PR, and so that's like, yeah, I felt that to the bone.
It is. I think with Orange Gen, the most important thing is to have fun with it, because if you do have like the high school pack or any of those things, you can cause such chaos now. Like, I am so excited to do Orange Gen again, because now there's those, if you have that pack, you have those windows that they can sneak out of and like legitimately sneak out, not like I'm going to pretend my sim is sneaking out even though I'm going out the front door. Like, like there's so much, especially in like the teen years. Have them, like, I love doing like fires with them and like them finding a criminal, because what I find is if you're goofy with them too, be goofy with them, because you have to be, realistically, you have to be an unbelievable criminal. Like, no matter what you do, everybody's got to be like, you're kidding me, right? Like, you do PR, or you do that, how are you a criminal? Have them get a partner in crime when they're a teenager.
Well, and now
go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say, and now with that high school pack with the high school pranks, oh my gosh.
Yes. That's what I mean. Like, that's gonna be, and like starting fights in high school. I mean, come on. I mean, that's perfect for Orange Jen.
And then
where
getting
she's
caught
just like,
because they're terrible
right?
at it.
Or you can prank the boards and you get that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting caught because every time you do something stupid, you're getting caught. And like
Exactly.
my Tawny was very on brand, even as a teen. Like, she had her partner in crime. And like every time they would try to do a prank, it never worked. It always failed. And I was like, thank you, Sim Gods, for making this perfect.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, Orange is fun. Like, it is just crazy fire. And like, if you're, because what is that? Gen 6, right?
6, yeah.
Okay, so by then you're either starting to get burnt out. I think it's like 50%. Like, if you haven't made it there, you know, you might be struggling still to get through the couple of gens. But by the time you get to Orange, man, it's like a push. You're either finishing this Not So Berry because you're 6 gens in and there's no turning back at this point. Because you're either going to look at yourself and you're going to be like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why can't you do this? Get your crap together. Pull up your big boy pants. Get going. You know? Or you're just like, oh, I can't. You just got to just push because it's so much fun. Like, the chaos is just, you have so many options to do such crazy things. And if your Orange Gen has siblings, it makes it even better. Like, have fun with it. Make them like torture their siblings, like make their lives living hell, you know, have them hide their hamster or like prank their bathroom or do, I mean, it's Orange Gen is no holds bar. You don't have rules in Orange Gen. Your most important things are just to get your aspirations and get your skills done. Outside of that, go crazy. That's my suggestion for Orange Gen. Yeah. Just go freaking like balls to the walls. Excuse me. I'm like, oh geez. But you know what I mean? Like, just go for it with that. Cause you know what? That's your push to like motivate yourself for 7, 8, 9, and 10. You know, like you just whoosh, you know, go for it. Go for it. It's so much fun.
No, I absolutely love that. I want to say, I feel like every single generation gets more chaotic as it goes on. I'm excited to hear about 10 when we get to that, because I feel like that's going to be insane. I'm going to move on to the next generation. If anyone else has anything that they want to add for 6. Okay. Okay, so 2 seconds. Okay. Generation 7, Pink. You grew up poor and living paycheck to paycheck, working in the business career as your parents did. You long to write romance novels, but are afraid to quit your steady job to follow your dreams. You're very particular, and you want the chance to make it as a writer. Wait, hold on. You want to make it, but the chances of you making a writer are slim as you stay at your 9-to-5 job. As an adult, you finally decide to pursue your dream. You're a hopeless romantic, but very unflirty nature. It makes it nearly impossible to find love. Traits: neat, unflirty, creative. Aspiration: best-selling author. Career: business. Create a postcard collection. Master writing and the wellness skill. Complete the best-selling author aspiration. Have a well-maintained garden. Quit job as an adult to pursue dream. Midlife crisis. Okay, this seems really real.
Yes. Like, that's
the most realistic one I've ever read.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
No, Mimi, go ahead.
I think like with that, again, you're setting yourself up with your Orange Gen. Pink Gen, I'll be honest, was, I think by the time I got to that gen, I had so many things in my head for that gen. But that was one of my favorite gens. Coraline was like the sweetest sim, and it was so fun to play that dynamic because I love the best-selling author aspiration. That's one of my favorite ones. I've done that one a few times before I did hers. Now, I'm going to be honest, I did not do the business career with my Jen. I used 2.0 on my Pink. So she was like she did the gardening career because she had to have that well-maintained garden. So I had plans for her, but I feel like for one with the Pink Jen, it gets a little weird because I think it's really hard to be an unflirty sim. Like, I find that even
Yeah.
the unflirty Sims are pretty flirty, considering that they're not supposed to be flirty. Like, if they were aromantic, that would make more sense to me, because like
Yeah.
they're like so weirded out by it. Now, like with
Mhm.
mine, I had set it up because Tawny was very, very wild and always had a different sim in their apartment all the time. So like for me, that was my Pink Gen's like base. Like she watched her mom and saw her mom cheat on her dad. So like, yeah, that was an unexpected thing that the Sims threw at me too. Like all of a sudden Tawny's with somebody and her kid comes in, and even though her mom and dad aren't dating, she thinks it's cheating. So but I like the aspiration. My advice for tips and tricks, because she's supposed to be a romance novelist, you cannot write romance books in The Sims unless you're flirty. So steamy showers are huge.
Okay.
Take romantic pictures, like even if it's like with the friend or whatever, or somebody that they're hanging out with, like set the romance one, because then you can set it in your house, like put it in the room where she's working, or have her go on a date. Even though she's unflirty, you can still get a gold level date. And when you get that gold level date, you get that bucket. It's like that one. You can either sell it and get $600, but if you leave it in her office and hit like the enable, it will be flirty. So she can view it and it'll help them get, because I thought flirty is the hardest one for me to get my Sims to stay in.
Okay.
Yeah. I was gonna also say, sorry.
Okay.
I was gonna also say, if you another nod, especially if you're maybe playing vanilla too, kick Towny Diego Lobo out of his apartment, because it has that flirty
that's right.
fireplace.
The romantic
And so
fireplace.
that'll help. Yeah, that'll help with that
Yeah.
part of it too.
Because I know, like, I'll always try to, like, with her, I always made sure that there was so much freaking romance enabled into the area she was at, because like I noticed like my Sims always hold confidence really long, or like they'll get the flirty at like the flirty moodlets, but like I gotta wait like 5 sim hours before they get there. But I don't think it's necessary that you have to realistically be writing the romance level. Like, what if you wanted to do a sci-fi? Like, there's the sci-fi options, or like fiction, and it's like a sci-fi romance. I feel like it's very up for I don't know what the word I'm looking for. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't. Like perception, like how you perceive it to be, how you want it to be. The business career I have done prior to that, I don't find that career is really much. I mean, it's pretty monotonous. I don't think in the Pink Generation, I think the business career is only important if you're playing it into your story. Whether it's your Pink Generation is working the business that your Orange Gen is in, or if they're doing something completely opposite of their parents but still in the business aspect. Because again, Pink Generation, though it has a lot of realism to it, also has a lot more play to it than, because like for me, for God only knows, I have, there's certain NPCs that I think we all can agree are great. Some are not, some are. Makoa is of course always one of my favorite. He's kind of obnoxious though. I've noticed, like as a player, but because my Pink Gen was so late, so I brought him back into the game because he wasn't around anymore. He was actually her significant other. Because he was flirty, it helped, because I find that if you have an unflirty sim around a flirty sim, they bring out more. So like you get more of that awkwardness that you're looking for. Like he'd always be like super flirty with her and like touchy, and she'd get those weird like awkward moments. Like I had gotten so many screenshots of them both autonomously getting energized and doing sit-ups at the same time, which I thought was the cutest thing, where they were doing like push-ups at the same time. Use that as a way, maybe if you're not comfortable with romance, as to feeling that awkward romance. Because like that's like when you were talking about animation stuff, I had found a pose that was like a dancing animation, and there wasn't dancing in The Sims yet, like the couples dancing. And I thought it was so great because it really like showed like this vulnerable little portion of how Coraline was really quiet and really like timid when it came to any kind of relationship. But with Makoa, she was very open, and like she was like really into wanting to do all those things, and she would travel because those are things that she never really did. I think with Pink Generation, it's really good to explore things that you wouldn't have done with your other gens, because orange gen, all of those, they're very, very specific as to what you need to do, versus you have this character now for pink where they're this person who wants to be this amazing writer. So why not, before you're living out your dreams of being a writer, go travel to these places that you're thinking about, or maybe you're writing fan fiction, or you're writing this or that because that's where you're living, and you're really realistically living in your head, and like reality is just like, you know, your day job, like, oh, I got to go to work today, I got to get up today. But as soon as that work day's over, you take your pink gen and have them go on a boat, or I can't do the boat, but you know what I mean, like have them like go sit on the beach, or go to another world and go skiing, or do something, and like have them write some great story. And keep all your books. Do not do like the selling until you have a really high writing skill, because you have more chance of getting the bestsellers, and that's what you need in your aspirations. Is you need an X amount of bestsellers. Start writing books when you're a teen. Just have them write a whole bunch of stuff, because then what you can do as a young adult, because you have to be a young adult before you start. Well, you don't have to, you can publish before you're a young adult, but they won't count. So, and also this is something, because she's a writer, before you send in any of your books, copy them. Take them out of the inventory, put them on a table, copy it, and then put it in the bookshelf in your house. Then send it off to the publisher, because then you always have a copy and your other Sims can read that book. And they'll get moodlets for it. So like if you're writing like flirty books, they'll get really flirty after they read your book. Or if you write a sci-fi one, they get really focused. It's a lot of fun. So like do a lot with that. And then once you hit a young adult, start sending all your stuff into a publisher, because then you get all those residuals every day for like the rest of your life on top of your other stuff. Oh God, I know. Isn't that great? And like, especially if they're bestsellers. And like, I really feel like in Pink Gen, if you get the opportunity to, like, if they say, oh, she won an award, do it. Now, I don't know. Sass and I have been going back and forth about this, because my game is so glitchy right now that Paris in my alphabet save, he's been up for an award, and like one of my not so berries, no, not in my new one, my old one, it worked fine, but like it was glitchy. You go there to get the award and then nothing happens. There's no award show. So I kind of will cheat an award, just because I'm like, well, if she was up for an award and no show happened, you're winning an award, baby. That's what I'm saying.
Because I'm beginning to wonder if it's a legit glitch, because I play in another save file with my sim self, and spoiler alert, or not so spoiler alert, but spoiler alert, like, so my sim self is with another partner, and that partner got an award, and it's the same situation, like the award ceremony didn't work. So I'm like, I'm still trying to figure that out and trying to look into to see if that's a known thing, if that's a glitch, and I hope it gets fixed in the update. But I feel like that's not not technically a cheat, especially if you're going to play by the rules, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. We've been discussing this.
I know. This has been happening behind the scenes. It's all the behind the scenes.
Exactly.
I love that. Sarah's currently having internet issues, so hopefully she can rejoin us. If not, she's popped in and popped out a couple of times, so hopefully she'll be back. No, that's so fascinating. I like that, and I like those aspirations. So I did lie. I was also an author, because I thought that'd be really funny. Before I was like, I was like, I'll make my sim an author, and I lived off those residuals for like ever.
I love that.
Right. Well, if there's anything else to add for this generation before I move on to the next generation,
I think that the best thing with Pink Gen, like I said, just have fun. Like, you get the orange gen, it's so crazy chaotic, and then you get this flip side with their kid, which is great, because then you get to do something totally different. And I feel like you should feed into the innocence that's in Pink Gen, because that's realistically what Pink Gen is really about. Like, they had such a crazy upbringing with their crazy chaotic parent that they're, you know, a lot like, I mean, like, I feel like Pink Gen for me was very, very close to home, because I can be very like introverted, and like I get very timid about certain things. So like for Pink Gen, like I just loved the the feeling that you get from that gen when you're playing it that way. Because again, a lot of people have a tendency to fall back on habits with their play.
Yeah.
So, you'll
Oh.
go back to what's comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like a not so berry is literally designed to take you
Right?
out of your comfort zone
Yeah.
and do things you would have never thought you could do. Again, going back to Generation 1 when we just discussed smelling the roses. I'm really
Yes.
seeing this game makes you stop and smell the roses. Now, going on to Generation 8 is Peach. Your parents always taught you to follow your dreams. You always wanted to be a detective. You wanted to also be a comedian. Well, dang it. You could be both. Detective by day, comedian by night. You could do anything you set your mind to. Trait, foodie, lazy, goofball, aspiration, jokestar, career, detective. Marry a coworker? Play an instrument, master the gourmet chef and comedy skill, master detective career, must live in a different city than where you were raised. Okay, this sounds fun.
It is
Yes.
fun.
Yeah, this one's a lot of fun.
I'm actually excited for Pink Gen with this Not So Berry because I could not do the detective career because when I was doing Not So Berry with my original, the detective career was uber glitchy. You couldn't
Okay.
get past like a certain point. Like you would try to do like the questioning and you try to get your boards and the and I was so geeked for that because I thought that looked like the coolest career because and plus I was always interested in that dead body apartment. I'm like, I want to know what happens with the dead body apartment.
You just made me feel better because I was trying to test out the detective career prior to like getting into for my not so berry later on.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe I was just stupid because I could never get it to work. But now that makes me feel better because like I couldn't get anything to work. It was super glitchy. But at the same time, I'm like, well, maybe it's just me. That makes me feel so much better.
It was definitely glitchy. I ended up having I went back to 2.0 because they did like it was like civil engineer, which I had never done before. And like I had added with her because she was a foodie. My Peach Gen, I wanted to kind of go out of the spectrum. Plus, that was when the wedding pack had just opened, and I really loved Tartosa, and I wanted somebody to live in Tartosa. So with my Peach Gen, I took it like kind of a step past that. Like I did the comedy, which I think is great. Now, I was trying to do the comedy skills in a different save I have. And for some reason it was glitching on me. Every time I try to do like a comedy show or practice something, she'd just stand there at the microphone. So I don't know if that glitch has gotten fixed. But I think with Peach Gen, you should always I feel like the foodie aspect is kind of lost with a lot of people with the Peach Gen.
Okay.
And for me, like food is super important. I love food.
Yes.
So I had her master because I believe you have to get you have to max your cooking skill. Do you have to master gourmet cooking?
Yeah, it's master gourmet cooking. Yeah.
So I had her master gourmet cooking, and baking because I thought that if you're a foodie, you're going to be in everything. And what I had her do was I did have her leave her career at like level 3.
Okay.
Because she went and I had her open a restaurant.
Okay.
So I took her on a spin where she was doing comedy, but she was doing food versus the detective since it was glitchy, which actually was really fun. Like I had a good time having to do that because when they're a foodie and they're opening, it was great because I had pictures of her and her significant other who unfortunately did get hit by lightning when he was working. And it was great because she would always be at the restaurant. And then every time I'd have to send her home, at 5 or 6 in the morning, she'd be sauntering and she'd be drinking because, she was drinking at work where there was the bar and she'd be all weird and dazed. So I thought that was great because Peach Gen, you have an opportunity to really do some funny stuff that maybe you wouldn't do. See, I was nervous about Peach Gen because I had such an issue with my Gray Gen's husband dying from being hysterical. I was nervous to have having a sim do comedy because I was like, man, if they get hysterical, they're gonna die. So I got really nervous, but then I downloaded that one mod, the realistic reactions, which kind of mellows out your Sims moods.
Oh.
So like it's more realistic. So like when they stay happy, it's for something they're legitimately happy about. Like
Ah.
you'll get like this whole moodlet thing of like, oh, they're happy because like they're at home and they're doing these things. It's not like uber crazy stuff. So I rarely hit hysterical anymore. But she did hit hysterical quite a bit as the comedy. So you just be
Oh, that's
careful.
nerve-wracking.
Like that is
Okay.
that I find that hysterical is just as dangerous. Like I didn't think that it was dangerous for your Sims to get uber embarrassed, but
No, it's terrible.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen Sims like die from being
Yes.
embarrassed or angry, and
Yes.
I was like, wow, that's the way to go, isn't it?
Yeah, die of a death of embarrassment.
So like
Yeah.
I'm excited for Peach Jam because that is not one that I've really gotten to do the original for. So like as I'm looking at my Not So Berry right now and I'm only in Rose Gen and I'm like, I know I've done these, but I can't wait to get this gen or get to that gen. That's what I think is good to know at this point too, because you're at Peach Gen now, who's like level like Gen 8. You've seen all of them grow, you've done all these things. You've got like so much lore going on in your head and on your game. And I think at this point too, if your saves or anything like anybody's saves, they get pretty chaotic when you're in generation 8 of a game save. So like your family tree is like everywhere and everybody's with everyone. And it's like at some point you're related to everybody. So it makes the gameplay even better, especially on that comedy like on that comedy side of it.
Yeah.
But then you get that opening because here you are, you got 2 generations left after this. So like what are you really doing? Are you going to take it to like have your Peach Gen start rounding things out, or are you going to play with the purpose that you're just going to take this as far as you can? Because there are extended versions. So then you start, I mean, like I think at Peach Gen, if you're super into it still, and let's face facts, like I mean, I follow a lot of people and I notice the same thing. They either start redoing Mint Gen over and over again.
Yeah.
And then they get frustrated because every time they do it, they're still running into the same problems, or they're getting bored by the time they get to Rose Gen, or it's the dying down after Yellow Gen. I've seen so many people like, oh, this is so boring. Oh, I didn't have fun doing this. But I feel like at that point, you're focusing more on story than you are on gameplay. So my suggestion is especially after that 5th generation and you're getting into Peach, focus on your gameplay. Focus on the fun of the gameplay. Like make them wear really weird outfits or fun outfits. Like add something to it. Yeah, she's a detective. Yeah, she's into comedy, but who says she can't be a detective comedian who's really into style and she has her own blog about style? You know, have them do things that because no one in life is really so I'm a detective by day and I'm a comedian by night. But what else are you doing?
Right.
Are you
Exactly. They're not that rigid.
Like Coraline, my pink gen was like an autonomous knitter. She loved knitting. Well, her daughter Dahlia, my peach gen, she picked up that same habit. So she would autonomously knit every time she was like nervous. So I thought it was hilarious because she was into comedy and she was like into this food industry and doing all this stuff, but here she was nervous sitting on the back of her porch with her little knitting going on and on. Like I think that it's great because then you get those little quirks. Like I think if you're like that kind of person, it would be kind of quirky if you're out on your back porch knitting. You could be at the beach, but you're sitting there knitting because
or if they're a detective and they're like trying to like interrogate somebody.
Right.
Just 1 second.
I had an idea.
Okay,
Hold on a minute.
On the night of 10 p.m. at
Right. You look like you're cold. Let me knit you a hat. Keep talking. Right.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Now, anything else we want to add before we go to the second last generation?
I think only thing else is if you're really into wanting to do like a comedy, watch some of your favorite freaking comedy movies. Take some of the crap that's in those movies and put it in your gameplay because some of that stuff plays out really funny in The Sims.
And the Sims gods always like to throw a wrench into everything too.
I love when it's raining and they hit the mud and they fall in the mud on their back. I love that. That's one of my.
I do too. That's the best. That's my favorite about clumsy trait.
Yes.
I love that. Generation 9, Green. You were caught hacking by a major tech company, then they offered you a position in their firm. You know Penelope Garcia from Criminal Minds.
Yes, I know. It's so great.
Sorry, it's the first time we actually reading that line. That's amazing because I fucking loved Criminal Minds. That's you.
Yeah.
You're dedicated to work. But that doesn't stop you from going out and having a good time. You're that kind of person that will party till 3 in the morning and then work at 6 a.m. Traits: squeamish, geek, cheerful. Aspirations: computer whiz, career, tech guru, master mixologist, video game and programming, master tech guru career, and complete the computer whiz aspirations. Must accept every invitation, party outgoing with your friends, have at least 5 good friends and 5 enemies. Okay,
Yes.
so before we start, I want to know, please, people DM me, did you make it a Derek Morgan? And did they
I did
have
not do that.
babies?
I should have done that.
I'm just saying. I'm
I'm
just
like,
throwing
oh,
that out there
you
because that's
God.
the first thing I would do. Because
heck
Oh
yeah.
my
More
gosh.
can now
Shh.
get it at any time.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, I agree with you there. Green Gen, I'm gonna say right now, I think that I enjoyed Sass knows, like Sage was like, I loved her. Like
I love Sage too.
I was looking forward to Green Gen like before I even got into Orange Gen. Like I had all these like thoughts and ideas in my head because I was like, who does not love Criminal Minds and who does
Yes.
not love Penelope?
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, that's just, but like Sage, like I feel like, again, not so berry, Green Gen, gameplay versus playing for story. With Green Gen, I had her do robotics too. I felt like that was kind of important because
Yeah.
I was originally going to have her build a robot. Let's be fair. I was going to have her do that. But as a teen, I made sure that she was practicing programming all the time. Like my
Okay.
idea for her was originally going to be very much like Penelope Garcia. I like even had like I had my Orange Gen wearing clothes that I in my head had her passing down generationally, and then Green Gen was going to wear it to be that character. But that ended up changing. Like what I love about Green Gen is that you have a chance to be kind of mischievous in a different way than you do with Mint Gen. It's similar because you're hacking and you're doing all these things, and like I loved it. I actually, if you can do mods or CCs, I think vanilla is great. I think vanilla is great for this challenge because you can do all of it with that. If you have the option though to do CC and mods, I did download a mod that was a hacker career. So I had her do the business career kind of after, not the business, the tech guru right after hacking, because like in the beginning of her young adult, I had her doing nothing but hacking. She was hacking, she was programming, she was making money like hand and foot, except for like if they caught her, then she would lose like half the money she had, which I like because it added that realism. But what I did with her was, instead of following the path on the rules where she went and she worked for this company, she met Seiji, which I thought was ironic because I didn't even think about it when I put him in my game. He was from a different save. He was in the criminal career, which was a throwback to Orange Gen, which I thought was great. So he was like top of the criminal career. She was the top of her the tech guru, and she was I had her go the what's the route where they look like the Matrix. That's what they remind me of. Because there's 2 branches, right, in the tech guru.
Yeah.
I can't remember what branch it was, but it was the one where they come in like the black suit and they look like the Matrix. I had her do that because I thought it was great, because they were like, hers was getting to the top of that, doing that, but mastering it, not being bad. She was very cheerful, keeping them on that like real cutesy, like, you know, they're really good, they're not bad. Like even Seiji, who was at the top of the criminal career, he was uber nice. Like they were extremely nice in the house, even though he was a mean sim. But outside of the house, those two caused a lot of chaos. Like it was insane because they were both at the top of these bad careers. Or is it the criminal? No, I had her in criminal because I thought that the criminal career fit better than the tech guru, because in the criminal career you can be the oracle or you can be the
That's it.
So I had her do the oracle because with the oracle you're programming, you're hacking, you're doing all those things that seem to fit the challenge better versus the tech guru, because tech guru is like gaming and I don't know, I don't remember what the other side is. So I found that it was a lot of fun. Now, I don't usually, I'll be honest, before Green Gen, I didn't keep a lot of electronics in my sim houses unless I needed it. I don't like to have TVs in my sim houses. I don't like to have computers because that's all my freaking Sims do is play.
Mm-hmm.
The beauty of Green Gen is that's what she has to do all the time. So
Yeah.
I suggest making her like, to make it seem more, I guess, real, like her teen years, she had like this secret place in the basement that like her dad, before he passed away, had built for her. And she had like the robot thing down there, and she had like a whole hacking station set up with like multiple screens. And after she'd get out of high school, she'd go downstairs and I'd work on her hacking, work on her programming. I wanted to build those skills and pump those skills up when she was a teen. I think in your Green Gen, that's the most important, because again, you're one gen away from being at that end. And you got to think Blue Gen has a lot of pretty specific rules. So you got to kind of fit Green Gen's rules around that. So like where I had Sage and Sagey, who she did everything. Mixologist I thought was the greatest. Like if you have not done the mixology skill all the way to 10, the stuff that they do is so great. Like I love, like they're stacking the bottles and they've got like 3 bottles on the top, and then like the drink that they can make at that end, like that really fun colorful one that explodes in their face. Like it brings like an because you know what, when they make those and that drink explodes in their face, it makes so much sense because you got this cheerful, you know, enigmatic, like computer geeky like character who's like, oh hey, why don't you have this drink? And then they drink it and then it blows up in their face and they got color everywhere. Like it makes it a lot of fun. Now, I don't know if it's still the same way, but the one part of Green Gen I do find difficult is the part where they say you have to go to everything that you're invited to. Yeah. Because like in my game, even if my Sims have a lot of friends, I don't get those phone calls for them to go anywhere. I get those ones that are like, hey, I met this person. Should I go out there with a friend, or should I go out there with this? Or hey, we were thinking about trying for a baby. And I get to say one like 20 times, but I'm not kidding. In my entire Green Gen, she was never asked to go anywhere. So I had to. Serious? I'm serious. So I had to make her have parties at the house because because she wouldn't like no one.
It's like the opposite. It's like I can't get anything done without getting interrupted to go here, go there.
I never did. Everybody shows up at the houses. So like I get like constant people showing up at the houses, but no one's ever calling like, hey. So like for me, it was glitchy on that. Crazy. And now maybe it was because of a mod. Maybe it's a mod I have that's messing with it. It could be that. I'm not sure. But my Green Gen was hard on that. That was the only area I had an issue with. Outside of that, like it's very simple. I find that the stuff that you're doing in Green Gen are things that a lot of people are already doing in the Sims because it's an easy fix for them. Like, oh, let's do this, it makes money, or oh, let's do this, it's an easier skill to get. So that the skill portion of it, the aspiration portion of it, that's easy peasy as long as you're grinding. You know, outside of that though, I find that Green Gen is really, again, it's another gen about having fun. You got this cheerful, you know, Sim who just wants to have a good time. She wants to party, or, you know, she wants to do this, she wants to do that. She's doing all these things. She wants to have all these friends, you know, but again, she's kind of like her counterparts from, you know, her great grandmother, who was a social media, you know, person spinning stories, you know, and here she is, she's screwing over those people that her, you know, great grandma was like spinning stories on, you know, like stealing money from the fangs and the land grabs and like taking everybody's stuff. And it's a lot of fun. Again, like I know I've been repeating myself about having fun, but it's not just about really smelling.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it's not just about smelling the roses and taking your time. It is about really immersing yourself in those generations. Because you're talking generation 9. You're in it to win it at that point, right? Like you got one generation down, you're thinking, oh, maybe I'll take this farther. You're looking at your characters like, wow, I can't believe I got here. Whether it takes you 3 months or it takes you 3 years, it's like at that point, I was blown away by the time I got to Green Gen. So any gameplay I had to do with her at that point was just a bonus. I spent double the time on her generation because it was so much fun. Like Pink Gen and Green Gen were my all-time favorite gens until I did my 11th gen. Okay. And we all know how I feel about Fiona.
Yeah, I do know.
That's another story. But yeah, I mean, Green Gen, it's just about, again, having fun, having a good time, and having her be the character you want her to be, whether she's like Penelope or whether she's kind of a little more dirty like Sage was. Like Sage was just, she was a badass. That's just her in a nutshell. She had a good time. She loved hacking. She loved that. She loved trolling her kids. I mean, it was insane. Her and Sagey had 7 kids. I had like Blue Gen, like I had to make it a point to make it the last kid born because they were like popping those babies out like crazy. It was insane. It was insane.
I love that. Oh my God. I feel like the Gen 9 is like kind of like the last hurrah before you get to 10. Which we do have to get to because this has now just surpassed the longest podcast I've ever had. We're at 2.5 hours. That's okay.
The talkers.
It's totally okay. So 2 seconds. Okay, last generation. Team Blue. You have a perfect life. White picket fence, loving spouse, beautiful children. What do you still want? You have a one-time secret affair and regret it for the rest of your life. Afterwards, you pour your soul into raising your children and fixing your marriage. You'll never admit the affair to anyone and dedicate your life to being the perfect parent. Trait. Gloomy, perfectionist, family-oriented. Aspiration, super parent. Career critic. Adopt at least one child. Master the photography, cooking, and parenting skills. Master the critic career and complete the super parent aspiration. Must marry a high school sweetheart and stay with them until they die. Must have one-time secret affair. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I found Blue Gen to be my most challenging gen.
Yeah.
Because for me in gameplay, it's for one, if I want my sim to be with multiple people, I usually don't have them marry because that's really bad. I'm like, no, I can't. So I found that for me personally, that part of the challenge was the hardest. But the rest, I find that Blue Gen for a lot of people will probably really hit close to home because you have a character like in my case where I had Mia. She had these parents who were so energetic and so crazy in love with each other and like were always, romantic and like always with their kids. She had this like ideal of what her life was going to be like. So I use that for my Blue Gen. I think with Blue Gen, you have to take and pick apart the rules and you have to pick apart the aspiration because the Not So Berry challenge when it was made was very limited. So now as a player, 6 years later, you can do more with your generations. I think you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable for Blue Gen.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you have this character that is in love with this person in high school and, thinks that life should be like butterflies and rainbows and you have this big house. Like I feel like for Blue Gen it's really important to have your character really want to grow up too fast. Like they're already planning. Like with Mia, she was on a roll. Like when she hit teenhood, I had this whole thing where she wanted to have the family and she wanted to have the relationship, and the relationship she was in wasn't really going the way she wanted and she met somebody else. But what I had her do is she moved out with these ideals of this perfect family, and she was still in high school and she was redoing the Matrix. I had her redo my original Mint Gen house. So she was redoing it. That was her thing. And like the person that she was dating in high school was in that neighborhood. So he was with her all the time. And then she had these thoughts of them getting married. And so they were playing house together as a teenager. And, then like it's a rush engagement and a rush pregnancy. And you have to wonder what would think in your mind as like a Blue Gen. I feel like as a player, whether it's again story or game, what's going through somebody's head if they're willing to have an affair with somebody? Like what's going on in their life that really so like with my character Mia, her push was she had this ideal romantic relationship in her head. But her husband, which I thought was perfect fit, Jackson, was actually a spellcaster. I brought him into the game because I had taken two of the characters I loved and thought were gorgeous, and I used the dad to create two characters with two different moms so I could put them in here. And the first one happens to be the first person she was dating. The second one is the high school sweetheart that she marries, but he's unflirty and he's proper. So stop. He's like unflirty and he's proper, and so like he doesn't show that romantic side that she's looking for. And I think that it's important maybe that the significant other of your blue gen has something polar opposite. Like she wanted her husband to be flirty and to be passionate and to be that way around other people, not just when they were by themselves. So she was an art critic. I had her do the art critic and not like the food critic portion of that. So with her, I had her go to the city, and she was in the city and she was, doing art shows, and she runs into her ex, and for me, I felt like if it's going to be an affair in your blue gen, let's do something really dramatic, because I feel like that's the only way I could do it. So I had him surprise her, and then she goes to his apartment and they have this wildly crazy night, and then she finds out that they were half brothers and he knew it the whole time, and he just did it because he wanted to get back at his brother, because his brother got the powers that he didn't, because his mom was just regular, and his brother's mom was a spellcaster, and he had a girlfriend the entire time that was out of town, so when he had her over, and so it was like this big, like, that was probably the most racy my story had ever gotten. Like, it took me forever to do that because I was so uncomfortable with it. But I feel like that's important. You have to have that big thing that does it. And then of course, when she realizes that, she goes back, and then like I skipped it. So when they adopted a child, I thought that this would be, because a lot of people I noticed were doing like, okay, blue gen gets pregnant by their secret affair, but I feel like that's not really secret if you're getting pregnant from your secret affair, because eventually somebody's going to notice that. So
that's not your baby.
I'm like, somebody's going to notice. So what I did was I killed off her first boyfriend, the one that she had the affair with. I did kill him on purpose because he had a child that he had with the girlfriend that he had this whole time. Even when they were dating in high school, he had this girlfriend in the city. So I had them, the mom passed away on her own. So I kind of killed the dad off, and I had them adopt his baby, and like her uncles and everything. Cause I brought in the occult and like Peach gen, but on the side. So like her uncle brings the kid to the house, and like, this is when her husband finds out that he had a half brother, and that this is his nephew. So they adopt her secret affairs child. And that's like her penance for the affair that she has. And they raise that child together. And she, at this time, when they do that, she is pregnant with white gen, because I went into the 11th gen with her. So I feel like with blue gen, if you're wrapping it up solid and you don't want to do anything after that, give yourself something, like feed yourself a story. Like, what do you want to see in your head? Like, what's the one thing you want to see? Like,
the grand finale.
Exactly. What's the coup d'etat? Coup d'etat? Is that what it is? Like, have it there. Like, that was big for her. Like, in her story, like, Jackson changed her over to a spellcaster because she had a really tough time in her pregnancies, and all of their kids came out as spellcasters, even my white gen. So I added that in there. Like, I felt like for her, that was like the most romantic thing he could have done for her. And in her head, that was like the biggest fantasy story. Like, I married somebody and he's magic and he made me magic so we could live together, and like, she finally had her happy ending after she had her affair, and she finally sees that, wow, my life really isn't that bad. Yeah, I may be raising my secret affairs baby, who happens to be like my husband's nephew, but hey, potato,
Right.
It all works out in the end.
That's drama.
Exactly. You need the drama.
Wow. Okay. Because like, I kind of agree for blue gen, a lot of us can hit home with that for either experiences that we've experienced or someone we've known that's experienced, but taking it and having fun with it and having and trying to create that drama. I love that.
Well, because, you know, I feel like everybody is always like the grass is greener on the other side, but you forget that the reason why the grass is greener is because those people are tending their yard. You're too busy staring at their great yard, so yours is dying while theirs is flourishing. So, like, I feel like that's Blue Jen in a nutshell. She's like looking at everybody else like, well, why isn't my relationship that way? And why isn't my husband bringing me flowers? And why aren't my children perfect? And why do they always make a mess? And why, you know, and plus,
meanwhile, she's got the white picket fence.
Exactly.
What's in her yard? Yeah.
It's like outside of that white picket fence, everything's a chaotic mess, you know, but like inside those walls, she's trying to be like perfection, like the perfect wife and the perfect mother and the perfect cook and keeping everything together while having this career, because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be able to do it all, you know. And I feel like the affair that happens with your Blue Jen is probably because your Blue Jen got so pushed to a point of trying to be perfect that you just can't do it. You can't. No one can hold up that for too long.
Exactly. Well, I love that. Now, I know that's the end of Not So Bad. We've gone through all of the generations. Now, I hear you have an 11th. Is that an extended?
It is. There is the Not So Berry extended, which has, I can't remember her name either, and I have to look it up. There's 3 generations that they add. They have a white gen, a brown gen, and a black gen. Now white gen I thought was really fun because you have this Blue Gen who is all about being perfect and all these things, and your white gen was very self-absorbed because her parents put everything into her because she I had mine as the last one, she was the youngest, so like it was great because she was very self-absorbed. She was like wrapped up in herself. Her parents were always telling her how great she was and she is a great performer. So like you have this white gen who's going to be a master actor. They're going to do everything that has to do with that. Very self-absorbed, very into themselves, which I thought was great coming from a mom who was always looking out to see what was out there, who now has a kid who's like, I'm everything. Everybody loves me. I'm perfect. Everybody wants to be me. And that is what Fiona oozed. I can't even like, she took my Sims to like a level that I didn't even know was possible. Like I was so in love with my white gen. It was insane. Like I did change some things because after white gen, I was like, I don't know if I can keep doing Not So Berry generations, because once you get into like the extended versions, things get kind of a little muddled and like it's like, well, you're kind of repeating. But white gen was fun because you had this person who didn't care about anybody else, you know, where you went from a mom who cared about everything and what everybody thought. She only cared about herself, you know, and she cared about acting, and like I went hard on her. Like I was mean. I'm a mean sim runner. Like I will run my Sims into the ground, and I did with her. Like she worked nonstop. I would like give her those potions to keep her awake. I would have her doing like those 24-hour sim marathons on the freaking thing where she was doing her videos. She was editing, she was acting, she played every instrument. I mean, she was just, and where is that Stargazer's Lounge, right? I deleted Stargazer's Lounge and I made her this like private white world that was like everything she needed. So she didn't have to do anything. Everybody came to her. Like she had her own entourage. I did everything with her that I had never done in the acting. Like she got her star. Like I did the aspiration. I've got pictures of her putting her little star down. She did her star on the walk. She got all the weird quirks. She was just a lot of fun. That one is really, I think a wrap up for people. Like with the white gen, it's like you did 10 generations. The thing about having the 11th gen like that is you will get that legacy. Like even when you get to blue, you don't get that legacy award until your 11th gen is born. Once your 11th gen is born, then you get that cool little award that says you have completed a legacy. That was kind of the reason why I had done the white gen. But like they have like, it goes into a brown gen where they build like their robot and the robot's their only friend. And then they have, I think they do have a child. And then like black gen is them being the opposite and them going in and getting infatuated with vampirism and like wanting to be a vampire, and they become a vampire. And then like you can either continue on and like have kids with that generation, or that generation is the end. They go out into the sun and they burst into flames, or they go whichever way you want that
Right.
generation to go. But it is really just around, those three are just kind of a rounder. Somebody did those, I think, because you had so much fun doing the rest of the generations that you don't want to see your family end. I think that's what
Yeah.
it is at that point.
Yeah.
You know, so
Mhm.
either you're taking the characters you still have that are alive and putting them into a new save, or which I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie, I used to have one with all my Not So Berry characters just so I could do photo shoots of them.
Yeah.
But one thing though, too, with the Not So Berry, I think that I want everybody to remember, because you did builds, you were all in the builds. I think that people who don't look at building, they don't realize that this challenge actually really inspires builds, because every
Yes.
generation in that series, I spent so much time creating the space that they were living in, like to fit them and to have all those colorful vibes or to fit the personality. And I found so many different things about building that I didn't know before that. And like, I used to be like, I'd watch people build and I'd be like, no, but for me, where I was always gameplay, Not So Berry brought out a really big build point for me. And I've
Yeah,
learned
same.
so much and I've done so much in my builds that it makes my Not So Berry gameplay even more fun, because it's like, I know every generation, it's now not just about my character, it's about their life, it's about their clothes, it's about their house, it's about the people. And it starts to really expand your gameplay, because now you're not just playing this legacy, you're also creating this entire universe or multiverse, if you
You're
will.
curating, you're curating their entire environment to that specific generation, and it's incredible. And the same thing, like I wasn't expecting to get into building, but this whole challenge has pushed me to be a builder and become, push my builds and things like that. And especially doing it on console and then now transitioning over onto PC, like it's it I can't even put into words that whole experience of that transition, even as a builder, I'm not claiming to be a builder, but just learning to build and building. This whole challenge brought that out, and so being able to curate all of that is really incredible and a really great experience as well.
Like Not So Berry really just, I think it's great for beginners that are just starting The Sims, or experience, because if you're a beginner, sometimes you go into this game thinking, oh, I'm just going to play, but it gets kind of monotonous when you're just playing. But when you have those set rules, it's like, oh, wait, hold on. And you go in and
you get to try different things.
It's like scenarios before there were scenarios,
Exactly.
which is great. And it brings out, like, if you're a game player, it will bring out the builder in you. If you're a builder, it's going to bring out that gameplay in you. It kind of plays, I think, on every part of being a sim gamer, because you get that well-rounded, you get to try everything and you get to do all these things, and you can add to it if you want, because some of those aspirations, like I said, when you're going through those generations, you're starting as a child, so you're getting through things, so you can add little things in here and there if you want to, round out your generation or add more chaos, or anything that you want to put in there.
Exactly. To me, it makes you a better simmer, and because now even when I play other save files that's not even related to it, it's like I now know I've experienced so much just from the challenge, and now it makes my other save files like that much more enriched and lively, and the gameplay is even more just better in general, just because of that whole experience with the challenge, and now translating that over into a new save file. It's just
because it's exciting, right? It's like,
it is.
You get so excited.
Out of it. Yeah, exactly.
Well, ladies, I thank you both, and thank you, Sarah, when she was here, for coming here today and teaching us builders, or anybody who just doesn't really understand like a Not So Berry, or kind of sees it and sees the mint gens and just nothing
like,
after a mint gen, right? So I want to thank you both so much for coming and teaching and going through and tips and tricks. Anybody who's listening, I'm sure they have learned a lot. I have learned a lot of what to expect and just best practices. So you get to the end, because I feel like a lot of us simmers, like we are completionists and we want to get to the end, but like we could just get to a career and being like, oh my God, like how do we do this? But hopefully with this podcast, tips and tricks are going to teach you along the way. We're just going to do one more quick round of, where we can find your socials. And I'm just going to read Sarah's off.
Okay.
So Sassmouth, all you, kiddo.
Okay. So I am Sassmouthsimmer. You can find me primarily over on Instagram at the same handle, Sassmouthsimmer. I also have 2 other accounts. Sassberry Origin, which is actually a replay of my mint gin, which is much more in depth and a little bit deeper into the sci-fi realm. So you can check that out on there. And then I also have a spam account, same name, sassmouthsimmer.spam, where I play as my sim self, and it's kind of a playthrough. It's just me playing gameplay as myself and getting into all kinds of mischief and fun. You can find me there. I'm also over on Twitter at Sassmouthsimmer, not as heavy as on Instagram, but check me out over there. I share all kinds of fun things. And as always, it's always a super safe space and always super friendly on my Instagram. So I hope that y'all come and see me there. And I would really love that. So yeah.
I love you, Sassmouth. Mimi, how about you? Where can we find your stuff?
You can primarily find me on Instagram, Maliki Star, at Maliki Star Sim Stories, or Maliki Star Sim Craze. And I sound ridiculous when I say this, but I don't know what that little bottom slash is. Like it says Maliki Star / Sim Stories. I'm like, what is that called? I don't know.
Underscore.
Thank you. _ Sim Stories, or Maliki Star _ Sim Craze. I've got Sim Crazes right now, a brand new Not So Berry going on. So I'm going to be starting the Rose Gen. So anybody who is new can kind of see a new spin on that. On my Sim Stories, you can still scan back. I have most of my Not So Berry original on there, I believe from Yellow Gen on or Gray Gen on. If you want to take a look at that, because there's a lot of fun stuff going on in there. And that's pretty much where you'll find me.
I love that. This is for Sarah. Her Instagram is Sara Whims, so Sara Whims. Her YouTube is also the same, Sara Whims, and her Tumblr, which I know she said she doesn't use as much, but it's still on here, is Sara Whims CC Finds. So please go check out everybody. It has been an absolute pleasure getting to know more about the Not So Berry Challenge, and maybe not being so intimidating or scared by it, and maybe being a little bit more intrigued to try it, and just kind of saying like, hey, like if you can do it, I can do it, and here's some tips and tricks. So anyways, I want to thank both you and Sarah for coming here today, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
You as well. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
of course. Okay, bye.
Bye.